Welcome to A Woman's Brew, where women talk about beer. Today, we celebrate our 200th episode and nearly 4 years of being your go-to girls for beer antics and education. Whether you've been with us since day one or just hopped on the brew train, please raise a teku to toast this milestone you helped us ferment. I'm Joanne, and this is Tori.
Hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's almost like I know how to write.
Right? It's like you know how to write.
It's shocking. Like I know you wouldn't know this about me because I pretty much never show you that anymore for the last year or two. But like sometimes I dabble in knowing how to write things. Sometimes. But yeah.
Right. Here we are. Episode 200. We've done 200 of these.
We have. We really have. Look, I'm wearing my winter hat in June with my tank top, my vest top on.
She's got a Three Hills beanie on.
That's my celebratory.
We've both got our A Woman's Brew podcast t-shirts on.
Yeah, because when else do I wear that? Because the fact that like I love the shirt, it's great. There's no shade to what you did was awesome.
Thank you.
But also I know that I probably wouldn't just wear it anywhere because I don't want the attention to be like, what is that? And then I'll be like,
it's literally, if you haven't seen our podcast t-shirts, listeners, they have literally got our faces on. So we only wear them on
Bitmoji faces.
We get Bitmoji faces on them. So we only wear them on like special podcast occasions because I mean,
you don't want to walk around with yourself.
I'm not walk around with my face on my t-shirt. Though. That's a bit weird unless it's for the right reasons.
Maybe what we should do though is so in 200 episodes I feel like we'll probably talk about this in a minute, but I feel like in terms of like changing with what we've done for like logos and stuff, like we had so many internal conversations about like changing colors of the logo, because I think when we started out the podcast, like we pretty much just kind of pinched your beer school colors because it was just like you were like, we need to put a logo. We're like, we need to put a logo together. We'll just put a logo together. It's fine. The photo of us is like super old comparatively. Like you would just like take a photo of you, and it's like me in front of a microphone that I think was just like a cheap Amazon 15 quid microphone that you made me get rid of. You didn't make me get rid of. Rob made me get rid of. That's fine. That's fair. We'll talk about all that, I'm sure. But yeah, like the photos are old. The branding is like older branding. Like we have done so much work behind the scenes to like redo things. But then like we did it in a rush ahead of the like and subscribe beer coming out, I think it was. And then proceeded to like not actually we'll launch it in the new year, and then like we really didn't. So I feel like that's something we should have talked about this on Q1 when the Q1 review, the Q2 review that we just recorded.
Well, I think we realised because that
we bit off more than we could chew.
Well, but that was like, so that was like cover art for the podcast. We've got cover art for the podcast, but then we needed like an actual logo to go on the beer can, and I'm like,
but even then, cover art,
we don't have a logo that we can give to people. We've just got our cover art.
And I think like when it came to the cover art, it was very like we were like, well, we need cover art. Like we didn't really like go. We didn't have photos together because we hadn't met in person.
We hadn't met in person at that point.
We hadn't met in person at that point in time. We didn't like, we were just like, the best we could kind of do is like, okay, we'll just take two separate individual photos that look podcasty, and like you already had some podcasty related stuff.
Yeah, and I wanted it to be photos of us, so it was more engaging when people look at it rather than like it being faceless people. Because we
100%.
The reason we like, in case you didn't know, the reason we started this podcast is because we wanted to hear more women talking about beer, like a beer glass, or I don't know, something like a beer can or something like that. When you just look at that doesn't tell you that it's two women
100%.
Talking about beer, So I was like, I want our faces on it so that people know what they're getting into, in case they don't read A Woman's Brew.
No, completely agree. But I think it's that thing of like, we sort of didn't have we didn't know what we were after at that time when we started. We were just kind of like, we knew what we wanted to achieve, and we knew what mattered to us in the sense of like why, like our purpose, but we didn't necessarily have like a strategic plan of like, some people, I think some
Do we have
people
a strategic plan now?
No. Immediately no. We have lots of tiny little conversations that we're like, we should do that, and then we promptly don't do that, like launch the new logo. This was all because I was going to say we should just make t-shirts that have the logo on it, because then we can wear that like that without us being like, that's my face. But it's that thing of like, I don't think I think some people sit down when they start a podcast, they're like, we're going to have this, like, let's strategize, let's do this, let's do that. And I think when we started, we sort of were like, well, let's just start making them. And I think like the exact words from you were like, the first few episodes are going to probably not be great anyways, because we're going to be fine. The whole thing is, let's just get a few recorded. We'll get a few episodes out at once. People can listen to those while we work out what we're doing. And like, it was just, I think that was basically we're like, okay, cool. We need a logo for this. We need this. We need that. Okay, cool. And then I don't think we had a handful of episodes that we were like, we could do this. And then we were like slowly building as we went.
Because I'd read that if you're starting a podcast, it's good to have like three plus episodes to start with so people can binge it. So I was like, right, we need 3 episodes to go out straight away so that people can like listen to those, and then we'll build it from there. And then we were like, we'll probably just do like, one a month? Like probably one a month. And like, we'll see how it goes. And if people listen, then, you know, we'll just see how it goes. And I think straight off we were like, oh, we've got enough stuff to do 1 a week. Oh, now we're doing 1 a week. Oh, it's nearly 4 years in and we're still doing 1 a week.
Yeah. Oh, gee. I've got so much more to say about that, because I think like we've got so many talking points we can talk about. Before we start talking about all that, should we talk about what we're drinking? And like literally, I don't know how long this hat is going to make it, but I feel like it is a proper part of the origin of our podcast, so I have to wear it. It got lost one time.
So I just want to say that, like, in true A Woman's Brew form, I pointed out, I was like, look, this is like, I've counted the weeks. This is when our 200th episode is going to come out. Like,
don't out us.
I'm going to, because the people need to know the type of people they're listening to, and it's fine.
And we have no strategic plan. We had the strategic plan. We just didn't execute.
I did this a while back. I was like, we've got like a chunk of time now to decide what we're going to do for our 200th episode. And we were like, we're going to do something really great. We're going to celebrate it. And then we didn't. But what we are doing for our 200th episode is we're making beer cocktails, people.
Sort of, yeah. We got them beer cocktails. We've got
some beer cocktails because, you know, that's fun and celebratory. So do you want to tell people what you're drinking, what you're wearing, what are you drinking out of?
Yeah, we also tried to pick glasses, I think. Yes. That would be...
All of this is significant.
It is all significant. Like I said, that's why I'm wearing a friggin' hat in June. We thought about it for more than 1 week's time. It might have been finalised in the last 48 hours. That doesn't matter.
No.
We are not here to judge. As one of my direct reports says, she's awesome. Diamonds are made under pressure.
Yeah.
That intro was made under pressure.
Yeah. And look what we created.
I'm not being funny. Me getting ready to go on holiday, recording 2 episodes a week, and doing everything. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Let's do one more thing. That's fine. What am I wearing? I'm wearing my Women's Brew t-shirt, as we just said. I'm wearing my Three Hills beanie.
Because where did the Three Hills beanie come from?
It came from Three Hills. Yeah. Andy at Three Hills sent that. So we'll talk about. I'll pause and talk about that when we start talking about the recap. But I will say this hat has been lost and found on numerous. So like, I wore it out. I put it in a bag as I was walking up to the high street. It must have fallen out of my bag or my pocket.
Oh, no.
Didn't know that at the time. It must have been on the walk home, because I would have noticed once I got somewhere. But I think on the walk home, it was warmer than I thought. I put it in what I thought was my pocket. It must have fallen out of my pocket. And then Rick was walking up to the high street and he was like, do you have your Three Hills hat by any chance? And I was like, yeah, it should be somewhere. And I went looking, I was like, I can't find it. That's my favourite hat. I can't find it. And he was like, I think I found it. I saw it, but I didn't want to touch it if it wasn't yours. And he was like, I found it. And it basically just fallen in a park that we were walking through on our way to the high street. Fell out of my pocket and it was like mixed amongst the leaves. Bless him. He took it home. He washed it. He got all the like,
Lucky.
There's a few random bits of leaves like still, I think, kind of entangled in there. But like, I was like, oh, he found it. It's my favorite. And now I know that that's like 3 mountains. So I knew that at the time, to be fair. But I feel like now it also signifies, for me, I love Three Hills because the fact that it's like, for me, there's that Japanese connection as well, which I love. We did the Japanese cake tasting there. That was the beer and cake tasting.
That was a good day.
That was awesome. That was such a good day. But yeah, that's what I'm wearing. I'm also wearing my Berkshire necklace that I got from Double Barreled because Berkshire represent. Apparently not a lot of people say they're proud to be from Berkshire, like they say they're proud to be from London or Manchester or Birmingham. But I'm not from Berkshire, it's my adopted home, but I'm near Berkshire in the US, the Berkshires. So really, Reading to Reading. So really, for me, I'm proud to be from Berkshire. Thank you very much. What am I drinking? The name is so apt, and it was the perfect thing for my cocktail. The beer that I'm using for my beer cocktail is it's a collab between Trillium and the Veil. It's called Middle-Aged Adult Human. I just thought it was a great name of a beer. I had to get like there was 2 in a pack because obviously, as you know, I have to get multi-packs when I get stuff. This one was thankfully a mixed pack, but it was 2 of these and 2 of something else. And really loved the beer when I first had it. And I thought, you know what, I really need to drink it before I go back to the US because I can just get more of Trillium if I want to because I'm spoiled. So I have that. I've had a little glass of that on the side. But what I've done is I have Googled, I've Chat GPT'd we talked about cocktails and stuff for us. I've asked Chat GPT to make a cocktail for adventures_in_optimism and give me a reason why. So the drink that I have today, you need to watch the video for it. I guess the best way to describe it is it looks like a tequila sunrise. That seems to be my theme. I really like tequila sunrisey drinks. So it's called a hoppy tropical sunrise.
Right.
It is made with a hazy IPA. It's supposed to be 8 ounces of it, but I don't think I put it. I think it's less. I'll keep topping it up as I go. There wasn't enough room in the glass. An aged rum, 2 ounces of aged rum, 3 ounces of pineapple juice, 2 ounces of orange juice, 0.5 ounces of grenadine, and I just eyeballed it. I just made that up completely. It has the Angostura bitters. I'm never good at pronouncing that. I forgot that, but it's behind me, so I will top that up before I sip it. And then it's meant to be topped with a pineapple slice and a cherry for garnish, but I didn't put those in. Maybe I'll go and I'll grab a slice of pineapple because I've got it in my fridge. So we might time out for a second. I'll go and top up those things because I didn't read it properly. But yeah, basically mix it all together. And why is it the cocktail for me? Because it says that a hazy IPA reflects the passion for craft beer, focusing on a style known for its fruity and aromatic profile, which resonates well with her audience. Tropical vibes. The combination of pineapple and orange juice creates a refreshing tropical flavor that's perfect for summer and visually appealing for Instagram posts. I didn't specify the season, I'm just saying. Complexity and layers. The use of aged rum and grenadine adds depth and beautiful layered appearance, making them both fun to make and aesthetically pleasing. And it says crafty and creative. The cocktail mirrors the adventurous spirit of exploring new flavors and combinations, aligning with adventurous and optimistic approach to beer culture that Adventures in Optimism embodies. This cocktail is designed to be visually stunning and flavorful, making it a perfect fit for an Instagrammer like Adventures in Optimism, who thrives in sharing unique and exciting beer experiences with her followers via her Instagram stories, because she never really posts to her main profile anymore. So that was mine. I had like a few backup ones that were really cool, but this was the one that I actually had the ingredients to make. But so the aged rum, I did have to swap that out with Malibu coconut rum because I thought I had rum. I normally have a full stock bar, didn't have the aged rum, and then I was like, I've got Malibu and coconut will mix. So it's definitely going to taste different. I'll try making it again when I have aged rum. So yeah, and I did also ask Chat GPT to tell me who I am, and they said Venture and Optimism is a podcaster and Instagram blogger who focuses on craft beer culture and related adventures. The persona behind it shares insights, reviews, and experiences related to various beers, breweries, and beer events. They often explore different styles, provide tasting notes, and offer recommendations to their followers. The content is likely geared towards beer enthusiasts and those interested in the craft beer scene, combining informative and entertaining elements to engage their audience. I feel like they've just taken my name and they've gone, yeah, cool, this is what you do. Because I don't feel like that.
At your
old posts.
It might, yeah, it might have looked at
or
your
podcast
Instagram profile.
reshares. Yeah, I didn't share a link to it, so I'm sure it could probably do me one better if I shared a link. But yeah. And lastly, for me, what I'm drinking out of is my Mirakai glass, the first one that we got from Mirakai. Because I remember when we first got it, I was like, these glasses are just visually stunning. Some of my favorite people have purchased this glass and sent it to us. So yeah, obviously Emma is like one of the most, she's been rivaled recently, but she's one of the most, I think she's just barely hanging on to top of the leaderboard for the most appearing on our podcast. I felt like it would have been a disservice to not use one of the Mirakai glasses, and I thought I wanted to use the old school one that's usually in my bookcase back there. So that's mine.
So I am also wearing my podcast t-shirt. And I also I asked Chat GTP to make me a beer cocktail. I do not have a full bar. I have very limited anything that isn't beer in the house. So I went through my cupboard last night and pulled out what ingredients I had and just said to Chat GTP, write me a beer cocktail recipe, suggest what beer style should go with it, and these are the ingredients that I've got. Make me a beer cocktail. So it came up with the Tropical Dark Lager Punch.
Oh, I like
also
that.
said that it was to celebrate the 200th episode of our podcast, A Women's Brew. So it made me a recipe, but because it was a punch, it was like for a whole pitcher. So I then got it to scale it down for one person.
Ooh.
So in I'm going to show it now, my
hey,
Tropical Dark Lager Punch, which is in my,
that looks so fancy.
Right, it's in my Three Hills the Outpost glass. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's got a straw in it and it's got an orange slice. It said to garnish it with an orange slice. So in it is an ounce of pineapple rum, half an ounce of black spiced rum, half an ounce of sweet vermouth, a dash of bitters, citrus juice, which is a mix of lemon and orange, which I squeezed myself, freshly squeezed, Pete, and 3 ounces of dark lager. A Czech dark lager like Budvar Dark. Guess what I had in the fridge?
Hey!
A Budvar Dark. So I was like, perfecto. And some ice, obs. Right, so you had to mix the ingredients in a mixing glass, like mix the base ingredients and the juice, and then top it up with the beer, and then you wanted to slowly pour the beer in so you didn't get too much foam. Mix it all thoroughly, and then garnish it with an orange slice. It's pretty tasty, guys.
I've not tasted mine yet because I'm going to go get the bitters. I'm going to put my 2 dashes of bitters in.
It's good. Right, so it says that the dark lager adds a rich malty backbone to the cocktail, complementing the sweet and spice notes from the rums. Pineapple rum brings a tropical sweetness, while the black spice rum adds depth and complexity. Totally getting that. The sweet vermouth and bitters balance the sweetness and add a layer of herbal notes, and the citrus juice provides a refreshing tang, cutting through the richness of the other ingredients and tying the flavours together. And it said to me up here, the Tropical Dark Lager Punch is a unique and festive way to celebrate your podcast's 200th episode, combining the richness of a dark lager with vibrant tropical and spice notes for a memorable toast. Cheers! Thanks, Chat GTP.
That sounds
I'm going to do
delicious.
this more often. It is proper tasty. I'm going to do this more often because I've always wanted to do more beer cocktails, but I don't often have that many cocktail ingredients in. So if I can just go, or I go like, here's a beer style, make me
I feel like that could be a whole new episode,
right?
That could be a whole multiple episodes, or we could challenge each other. We could send each other ingredients and go make something involving these.
I'm going to do more beer cocktails like this, and I think we should do an episode of it. Listeners, tell us what you want to hear about beer cocktails, and we will do an episode about it, because
we do like beer
beer
cocktails.
cocktails are fun. Let's do more of it. And this is delish. It is in my Three Hills the Outpost glass, which reminds us, I think, of one of our episodes that we filmed at the Outpost the first weekend that it opened, and they brought us our beers in these glasses. Now they're like a square wine glass. Is that the best way to?
Yeah, I would say it's like it's a hybrid between like a teku and like just a more squared
and like a tumbler, but it's
stemmed.
But they brought out these beers, and we were like, "Ooh, beautiful! These are beautiful. Can we buy them?" And they were like, "Yeah." And so we did, but
they just like made up a price. They were like, we don't like, we don't know how it is
and we
that
went,
much.
Okay, charge us for that, but also put the price up. Because
we did. We'll pay that, but also charge more.
You are doing yourself a disservice. Please charge more. We've had some good times at the Outpost, haven't we?
Lots of good times at the Outpost.
Can highly recommend.
Highly recommend.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that my tropical dark lager punch would actually probably go down quite well with like a stout drinker, or maybe even a barrel aged beer lover, because it's got that real like complexity that you get from like a barrel aged beer because of the spice of the black spice rum.
That's how it sounds really good. To be fair,
I'm super impressed. Thanks, Chat GTP.
There you go. I'm topping it up with my beer, and yeah, I'm enjoying mine, but mine is definitely not like I think mine's more cocktail than it is beer for sure. But it's enjoyable. I had some alternatives that could potentially be really good, so I'm like, I really want to try more. So I feel like we should just generate a few different in the future. We should just generate ones for us because it'll be funny.
Episode in the making.
God, yeah, that would be good. Right. Where do we start?
How are you feeling about hitting 200 episodes?
When I was going through like the backlog, trying to get a high level sort of overview of timeline for us to recap, it just feels like I can't believe it's been like, it really doesn't feel like 4 years.
4 years in October.
It does not feel like 4 years. I'm taking my hat off, by the way. It's too much. It's too much right now. It's too hot. It doesn't feel like 4 years to me.
Yeah. And it's like, I'll look back and be like, oh yeah, that episode that we did, 2 years ago.
Or like some of the ones I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot we did that. And like, I know there's ones that I know that we've that we've done, but then I'm also like, oh yeah, we did do that. I forgot about that. I don't know. It feels weird. It feels good. It feels, I do definitely feel like we've come a long way from where, like, it didn't feel like a massive jump from day one to now, but like when I look at what episodes as I was revisiting it, I was like remembering that earlier episodes, and I was like, oh yeah, we could do that so much better now.
Right. Yeah.
I also think we had a bunch of filler episodes at the I wouldn't say filler. The notes that I had, like I wrote down a specific note that was like, filler's not the word I would use. What I would say is the first 20 episodes or so, I would say, roughly, where I think we were trying to find our feet. And we were also, it was COVID, so we still couldn't really go out and about. We had to get stuff that was local enough to us that we could both get things. We had to come up with ideas based on beers that we could both easily get. And as we've proven, supermarkets are
I was going to say,
unreliable.
Trying to be like, we'll get this from my supermarket. Oh, what about this one? I can get this. Oh no, I can't get it from that one. I've gone into my one and it's not there. And we had this great idea about doing a supermarket bracket.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't do it because we couldn't get the same beers.
I still think would be fun to do a supermarket bracket, even though I know, like, just for a bit of fun. Like, I don't shop at supermarkets for beer, but I feel like because I don't shop at supermarkets for beer, that it would be fun to do a supermarket bracket where we both pick a style, like we both pick a beer of each style, and then we compare them and go like, oh, actually, which is the best from this supermarket? Could this take on that supermarket's? And I think that would be cool. But I think we didn't really talk too much about it, like, because the fact that I was like, oh, it feels like such a really good idea, and somebody else could somebody that lives closer to each other can pick this up and execute it. So I just want you to know, if any other podcasts out there do a supermarket bracket, it's because we've just talked about it here today.
Yeah,
that's
because
all
we
I'm
told them
saying.
to do it.
I'm not saying that they stole it. What I'm saying is it's just coincidental that we've talked about it here and how great of an idea it would be. But yeah, it feels like we were just trying to find things that we could go, and I think we kept things a lot more current at the time, as in like this happened this week, and within the next few weeks, like I felt like we were going to shops more frequently to buy beers, because we weren't really, like the early days, we weren't really doing online orders like that, like we do now. I hadn't really ordered from any bottle shops till we started doing. I didn't even know you could until we started doing the podcast.
Yeah, no. So I had. I don't think I'd done a lot, but I'd done a couple. Yeah.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
Already ordered from Trembling Madness. Ordered from Hoptimism, RIP.
There's a lot. We didn't. What I wanted to do was an in memoriam section, but then it just became too depressing. I wanted to say. I had questions.
Like, Dr. Doom and Gloom here. Even I feel like that's too sad. That's too sad.
I started to sort of document some of that, and then it just made me too sad. So I was like, maybe not. Yeah.
But no, I had ordered from a couple of bottle shops at that point in time.
I hadn't done until we started recording, and we started being like, in order for consistency, like we were doing stuff. I would say even the first 20 episodes, though, we probably weren't doing. I think it was like within the first 20 episodes, towards the end of that, we were doing Triannuary and like those ones that we started ordering from online bottle shops because we needed the variety. We couldn't get some of it like locally. And that's what I think, because I think a lot of them was like, I got beers from Siren for us, and we'd mail stuff to each other as well.
Yeah. We don't do that as often anymore.
No, we don't do that as often anymore at all. So
at that point in time as well, I had completed my beer server exam, so I'd had to get in a variety of beers to do like my testing and understanding beer styles and stuff. Like the best way to understand a beer style is to drink it. So I'd had to do some orders to get the different things in that I needed for that. So I had a little bit more experience of that than you.
Yeah, and I think like it's probably because I was just buying stuff when I was out locally. Like I wasn't even looking online because I didn't need to, because we were going out quite often, and then COVID happened. I was like, shit, can't go out. But it was easy. I think a lot of places that we now can order from online like didn't even have online ordering at that time. Yeah. So it was a lot of like relying on supermarkets. So we were just coming up with ideas that people were actually talking about in forums and trying to figure out what people wanted to hear about. That was like different enough that we could talk about. And yeah, so we ended up doing a lot more things that were topical than I think we maybe do now. Not that we don't do things that are topical. I think we take more, I would argue, we take more risks now with
definitely.
We take bigger swings now with stuff, and we go way more off-piste with certain stuff. But I would say we plan so much further in advance, and we're more, in some ways we were more organized back then because we were doing things in shorter time periods. But then that was also COVID times, and we didn't have a lot of other things that we needed to do. That's what I observed. I don't know if you'd agree or disagree with that.
Yeah, I think our lives have got much busier now. There's many more things that we have to do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, I think like both our lives are quite different from when we first started. Like we've both changed jobs.
Yep.
We're both going to different places and doing different things than we were. I think our hobbies have changed as well. Like, or we've added to our hobbies. Maybe is maybe a better.
I would say my hobbies are all still the same. To be fair, I think in that side of things, like non-beer related things, I would say I'm very much still the same. In terms of like beer related stuff, like I've probably got more into certain nerdier elements of the beer stuff and going to certain events and doing certain things that maybe I hadn't really bothered to do before. And definitely job wise, like that's definitely changed. I think in just lifestyles changed in certain ways. I wouldn't say like fully different, but just.
But we started in lockdown, and then the world is different since then. So
I completely agree on that side of things. I think if anything though, it's funny because like my actual like hobbies, I feel like my hobbies and interests, while they haven't changed, I feel like because of the podcast, because we are so invested, not just podcast related, but you know, the Instagram scene, like just everything that we do within the beer community. I feel like it has taken away, like that has taken time away from my hobbies.
Yeah.
Like more so, I wouldn't say my hobbies and interests have changed. I would say I actually have less time to balance. Like I try really hard to balance everything out, and it just, like, I don't read. I'm starting to read books again more, but I used to read all the time, literally all the time, and play video games so much more frequently, and go to board game meetups. And then like when we started podcasting, it's just like and changing jobs and everything else. I don't have time to work all the time, having to go into an office now, do the podcast, do the research for the podcast, organize all the things that we got to do, and then on top of that, do beer related things, and then do my hobbies and interests. It's like by the end of the day, I'm brain dead.
Yeah, it's changing priorities.
100%.
Not necessarily in a bad way, just different.
Just different.
Yeah, but we've always made sure that the podcast is one of our priorities, so that we can do a new episode every week, which we never thought we were going to do. We never thought we were going to interview anybody.
Yep.
I don't think when we first started we'd have been brave enough to do the brave noise stuff.
Oh, see, I think I would have been brave enough to do the brave noise. I think
at the beginning.
I think I would have.
I think we'd have talked about it and then had to be like, yeah, I think we can do this. Like so I don't think I would have said no, we're not going to do it. But I think I would have been slightly more hesitant than I would have been when we did it, because like we were still getting our feet under us. And I mean, you know, right at the beginning we had people putting stupid comments on the things we were doing, you know.
I think I would have been brave enough, just because I think I've always been a person that's just like, I'll give a fuck. Like, if you don't like it, don't give a fuck. Like, it's fine. I think I've put my feelings in a back seat in that sense, because I've had to think of like what is best for the both of us. Like, there's been times that I've gone, oh, we could do this thing, we could talk to this brewery, could go to this place, but it, you know, if it were up to me, I'd go, yep, 100% I'll do it. But I have to stop and think like, okay, but for the both of us, like if we take this risk and I take a risk and do this thing or talk to this person, is this something, if I go on this podcast, I've not had to do this at all, but like in the set, as an example, if somebody invited me on a podcast that I was like, oh, I've done the research and I'm not actually sure that that's the best one for me to go on, I've had to think of, if I go on it because I've got an interest there, that's great, but I actually have to be mindful of what I say and do, because of the fact that I give zero fucks, I have no ego. The problem is I'm always very conscious. We've had many conversations where I've been like, oh, I think we could do this, but I don't know. I don't want to impact you by doing this. And normally it's fun. Like, normally it's just like, yeah, it's cool. Let's just go for it anyways. Yeah. It's fine. We're always usually on the same page. I think it probably was a case that I would have gone for the brave noise stuff. But I know we had a conversation early on that we sort of agreed that we're like, okay, well, let's just start off a very light.
Yeah.
Because as women, and this was part of the thing, is that we were like, it's really irritating because as women, we've had to go onto the scene and go, oh, we need to make sure that we're not too controversial. We need to make sure that we're not driving something because we don't want to be seen as driving a feminist agenda. Because we were never, what we didn't want to be labelled, or at least I didn't want to be labelled, was a women's beer podcast for women by women. Yeah. I wanted to be a podcast that was like, we are by women, inspiring women or encouraging women, but for everybody.
For everyone.
Like, not just women, inspiring minorities within the community, but something that everybody could enjoy. And we might have some episodes that certain people are like, that's not my cup of tea. Like, that's completely fine if that's not your cup of tea. There will be another one that maybe is your cup of tea. But I think we agreed at the start that we were like, oh, let's not go too bold, because we were like, if we come out of the gate right away and we start talking about this, that, and the other thing and our feelings on this, and it becomes personal, like that's when I think we were like, oh, we don't want to turn people off before we've turned them on.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember those conversations like vividly of like, we could do this, but that might turn people off before they even buy into us.
Do you think, here we go, look, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Oh, normally this is you. I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Fair. Oh, God, I don't like this if you're playing devil's advocate. What's going to happen?
Do you think if men had started this podcast, They would have done
No. Are you kidding? No.
They just said what they wanted to say.
That was not even. I love that you hesitated on that. Like I was going to struggle to. No, they wouldn't have. I say all the time, like, have the confidence of a mediocre white man. I think I got you a mug that says "Have the confidence of a mediocre white man," because it's proven time and time again. Yeah, I got you the have the confidence of a mediocre white man.
Hideaway sunglasses in it. I'm above our beer blade. And my siren beer blade.
That was our joke for the longest time because of the fact that they could just go into a scene, and this is we're not saying all these people are mediocre white men, but we're saying there's people that go into the scene, spit out nonsense, get told they're wrong, and go, "Oh, all right, my bad," and then it goes away. No one talks about it.
And we literally and I think we do it less now because I think we have built our confidence in these things. But, we would double check and triple check everything that we were doing. We'd shy away from things that we were like, if we're not 100% sure about it, we won't do it. And even then, when we knew what we were talking about, we still had people questioning us and stuff. I think there was definitely subjects that we kind of went, we'll put that on the back burner for a little bit, just till we were established. Because we needed to build our confidence and build our audience of, people that wanted to listen to what we had to say before we got, shut down by an idiot. And then actually when we got to that point and they tried to shut us down, we were like, nah, mate.
Nah, it's cool. It's cool. No, thank you.
It's fine. It's not for you. Keep scrolling. Cool. And we're still here 200 episodes later.
One of the things
talking nonsense.
One of the things that I wrote down is one of the episodes that was memorable for me was, I think it was episode 22, which was when we did the Valentine's Day episode, and we had the pink tigers in a rooftop jacuzzi or whatever sexy pink tigers
or sexy pink tigers in a jacuzzi, something like that.
Yeah, something like
Delicious
that. It was
beer.
So good. I think I still have a can.
Chocolate covered strawberries stout, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think I've got another can of it. It might have even been a white stout, actually. I can't remember.
Oh, I think
I've got another can of it somewhere that I was like, I'll age this and I'll see how it aged. Forgot about it entirely. A friend gave it to me and was like, I know you did this on a podcast episode. You might want to have this to age it to see how it tastes. Completely forgot about it.
Didn't we have someone go?
Yeah. So this is what I'm going to talk about.
What's Valentine's about?
So this was the thing. This is what I was going to talk about. It's in a group. So back in the day we had Facebook groups. There was lots of group chats going on with different beer people, and I remember vividly, and I know A, I can say this because A, I don't give a fuck, B, he probably doesn't even remember he's done it. C, even if he had, he'd probably be like, it was bant, whatever. I think, and I don't mind because I'll call.
He even listen.
No, and that's what I was gonna say. Actually, number one is he doesn't even listen, for sure, at all. Yeah. But I think what really got me is in this group chat, there was one of these dudes in a group chat that is still active on the Facebook pages or whatever. And he literally, I didn't even say it. We were just talking about our days. I was like, oh, I got this bit. It was just a general catch up. There was no bragging. There was no nothing outside. Just went, oh, we're recording an episode for Valentine's Day tonight. And I was quite excited about it. And I was I've got this chocolate strawberry stout. We're going to do a chocolate strawberry stout. And then I think we had something that was a brownie chocolate fudge.
Desserts,
we went for desserts, and it was chocolate mousse, chocolates, and I was chocolate covered strawberries because I think we were joking about it on the episode. We're we should call this the sexy beer episode.
So I did.
And so we were talking about that, and I was just saying it oh, this is the thing I'm excited that we're doing tonight. And he was just I don't get it. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I don't get it. And I was like, I don't get what you don't get. And he was just that's not Valentine's Day. And I went, what are you talking about? I was like, it's chocolate covered strawberries. Chocolate covered strawberries is not Valentine's Day. And it was he was trying to publicly in this group chat, make me look and feel stupid. And it worked because I was it worked in one way, but in the other way, it just made me enraged and annoyed. I think I responded back whatever, I don't agree with you, but whatever, it's cool. You don't have to I was you don't listen to anyway, so I don't know why you care. Number one. Number two, cool. He got a rise out of me because it did wind me out, because then it did make me feel shit. I was I think I asked you, I was chocolate covered strawberries are a Valentine's thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember having this conversation. I was like, yeah, I've actually had boyfriends buy me chocolate covered strawberries.
It is a
for
thing.
Valentine's
It is a
Day.
thing. Like, I was like, clearly, like, it was a whole thing. And then the kicker on it is, because people don't forget, then he posted something like this past Valentine's Day that had to do with like chocolate covered strawberries and stuff. And the thing is, I really wanted
No
to be.
way.
Yeah, he had posted I think he had posted the beer or a similar beer that had a similar type of aesthetic to it. It was like, oh, this would be great for Valentine's Day. And I wanted to be like, oh, says the guy who literally 2 years ago told me off. But then I was like, that's holding a grudge and I can't bring that up publicly. But it wound me up because I was like, you made me feel so small and stupid in this group of people. And I think that's what this podcast has done is I don't not second guess myself. I don't not check my work 3,000 times. I don't not feel like people still try to do that. I think I give slightly less fucks about it now.
Yeah, we do what we want to do.
I'm just like, not for you, cool.
Yeah, you guys are still listening, so.
And I think I don't participate in those groups anymore.
No, we don't. No, literally don't. I think I'm still an admin of one of them. I literally don't look at it. But yeah, we do what we want, and you guys are still listening. You've been listening for 200 episodes, and we always said that we would just keep doing it as long as people wanted to listen to it. And I was at a festival at the weekend, and I had people coming up to me saying, you know, oh, I'm a bit behind, but I need to catch up on the podcast. It's so good. And I had someone so I think I said this in a previous episode, like someone was like, oh, I don't like, oh, you did the top rated beers, and like I was so glad that you weren't that bothered by Julius, because then I don't feel FOMO that I haven't had Julius. But then you said that you really like Queen Julius, so now I've got FOMO about Queen Julius.
I do feel bad about that. I nearly used Queen Julius for this, but then I remember that conversation felt too bad about it, so I went Trillium in the Vale instead because that's so much better. Sorry, did I say the name drops again? My bad.
Clang, clang.
Dropping them names. Yeah, no, it's I think the thing is, it's not even those groups that I don't really like. I pop in and out of like some of those groups sometimes, but like I stopped contributing to them because I just felt like when I was contributing to them, all it was doing was making me more unhappy because I felt like it was more stressful. I had to double, triple, quadruple check everything I was doing. And even then the engagement was shit in comparison to somebody that put far less thought and attention to detail in their post and like physical accuracy of what they were talking about. And they would get 7,000 more people cheering them on, being like, you're great. Oh, it's amazing. And I just, after a while, I was like, what am I doing this for? Because I'm not even getting like what I was getting out of it originally maybe was like conversations and connections with people. But now I'm like, I connect with people in a different way now, and I have more connections through different methods that I was like, I'm not getting that enjoyment out of those groups anymore. So I just don't participate in them. And I don't have those private chat, like the private chats that I have are very like cultivated conversations with like people that I'm like, we're on the same wavelength and I know that we are similar people and I can have these conversations with you.
And we are big advocates for looking after your mental health here at A Women's Brew. You don't need to be part of any social media group, social media feed, anything that makes you unhappy. Like it's pointless. That's not what it's there for. And yeah, I think times are very different now in just 4 years.
Yeah.
Where, you know, we started out that's how we met. We met in a Facebook group. You know, that's how it started out. But we found our tribe. We found our tribe. Sure. We found our community. And I think we can attribute that to this podcast.
100%.
Definitely. Like, we found our people. So if something's not making you happy, if a place is not making you happy, your tribe is just not there. Go find it. Come find us. We'll be your tribe.
And it's also okay to kind of be like, oh, this was okay for me. And but now it's not anymore. Like, it's shifted and changed. And like, I've left, like the stupid example is like, I recently just joined some Facebook group called like, so I'm on random like different Facebook groups. It comes up in my algorithm and I go, oh, that's content that I think I want to see. And I joined something called like Free Little Library. or little free library, whatever it was. And it was just like people making these, it's so wholesome, people making
like the little
these
neighborhood libraries where you can swap books.
yeah, and they'd like, someone made one that was like a replica of their house, and it was outside their house, and I was like, that's so cute. And I think I joined because I wanted to comment on one of the posts being like, that's adorable. I just joined, forgot about it, and then eventually I just saw people like being like, you cannot just take books and sell them, and then another person being like, if you've put this out there, you can't control what happens to it. And then that's all the posts I started seeing for like 2 days straight from that group.
Someone's always got to ruin it,
and I just went, I just can't do this anymore. Like, it's not for me. So I left. I full on unfollowed the group because I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, it's not fun anymore. I'm not enjoying it.
And that's okay.
And that is okay.
My Facebook feed is now basically just Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but
it is for me too because of you.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I feel like I think it's funny. What I will say, back to like bring it back to the podcast element, is like, it's really funny. I think all the coincidental things that we've had, like as two somewhat different people on the outside. So like, if you looked at us today, if you looked at us today and like the type of stuff we post and the type of, like, if you looked at our algorithms and compared our algorithm, like, we are just very, on the outside, very different people. But it's really funny, like, just how when we have conversations, the things that we bond over and the stuff we have in common, it's so funny what we have in like, yes, we grew up in 2 separate countries. However, the first beer that you ever had that you enjoyed was a Sam Adams, which is like literally what I grew up on and grew up having. Like, just, that's normal to me. So I was like, yeah, of course you like the Sam Adams. You traveling like throughout the US on work. I moved over to the UK. Like, it's just very, those type of similar things. And then you go, oh, my interests are Buffy and this and that. I grew up being like, cool, I think it was like Thursday, every Thursday is Buffy night, and I'd go to my friend who lived 2 houses down from me on a school night. Is the only time that I was really allowed to go out after dinner on a school night. It'd be like, I've got to go watch Buffy, new episode. And I'd walk down there, maybe we'd have dinner, and maybe I'd have dinner over there, we'd watch Buffy, and then I'd go, okay, it's over now, and I'd walk home, like, religiously, to the point that my aunt knew, like, you know when somebody gets you something because they're like, oh, you like that thing, that's what I get you. Like, every time I get like Buffy DVDs, a Buffy calendar, like Buffy figurines, like stuff like that, that's the kind of stuff that I'd get because my aunt was like, you like Buffy, and then she'd be like, your birthday, it's a calendar for 20, because my birthday's in November, so she'd be like, next year's calendar, boom, Buffy calendar. It's funny how we've got like those type of things that you wouldn't necessarily realize that we've got in common.
Our shared love of pumpkin spice,
and cinnamon. Cinnamon. And I think that's really what this podcast is built on. It's built on cinnamon, spice, and everything nice, and mainly cinnamon. Sarcasm and cinnamon.
I think we're now at the point where if one of us really likes something, the other one's like, oh no, we're like, excuse me, what? That's not allowed. Like, we are aligned on all things. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't like chewy sweets?
I don't even dislike them. I like a Malum every now and then. I just don't like ones that I have to chew for like 7 hours, and then I'm like, we are done.
7 hours.
You know what I did get in though? This is like completely, this is going to be, can we just make this a really, really long episode or split it into 2? Because we've barely even got through 25% of what we have done. Guess what I got though?
What?
I got shaken salt.
Did you get salted shake crisp?
Yeah, I did.
Have you had one yet?
No, I haven't. I'll take some, but I was gonna have one on the podcast, but maybe I'll have one. I'll have one when we swap cocktails out. Okay. I'll have one. Which means we have to work our way through this actual outline and not tangent. You might get a 2-parter for a 200th episode. You might get like a really long 200. It's our podcast. We can do what we want.
We do what we want.
And then you can just skip it if it's too much for you. Or, you know, the great thing about podcasts is you can walk away.
Yeah.
Push pause, come back to it later. And we're not saying anything that's super meaningful that you are like, oh, I forgot what I was listening to before. It's fine.
Like, I'm also not going to be mad at you if you listen to it at double speed. Like,
I'm not gonna be mad if you've completely forgotten
skip it. Yeah.
everything we've said by the end of the episode. That's fine.
I mean, we look at the analytics. Do we really pay attention to it? Nah.
Do I look at the analytics?
I do.
Not really.
I look at the analytics and go, oh, cool, they didn't like that one. I don't care. We're still going to do it.
I like you telling me about the analytics later and I go, oh, wow, that's a fun number. Like, I didn't know about that. And also, slight correction, when you said that we would continue to do this podcast as long as people listen, I actually believe what we agreed was we would continue to do this podcast as long as we were having fun. Because
that's true, yeah.
even if people weren't listening, that's
we're
fine to us. We're not
it.
advocating for you to hit skip and not listen to us. But what we are saying is illustrating the point that we're going to do what we want to do. Brew is going to brew. We're going to podcast what we want to podcast about for as long as we want to podcast, whether you listen or not, because all we care about is that we're having fun and making each other laugh and learning things from each other and having good conversation. I think what we agreed was we would just put far less time and effort into it. It would just be an informal catch up that we recorded.
I think agree. Yeah, that's very true.
Anyways, should I give you the outline that I've written of our podcast?
Our podcasting journey, please?
Yes.
I'd love to hear
okay. I mean, I've tried to just capture all some key points, but then I got to a point that I went, I don't read. It's all same now. I don't know what else to say. Because I think we found our groove towards the end, and I was like, I have no additional things to add here. So basically, when we started in our first 3 episodes, they were, some of this is a little behind the scenes stuff. We kind of talked about it already.
Mm-hmm.
We did our first 3 episodes. We back to back kind of recorded those, not in one sitting, but we recorded them and released them all in one go.
So I did a bunch of like podcasty research before we started, and like there's all this stuff about how like, you know, you should batch record, like just get yourself all set up and like batch record, and then you've got like a bunch of episodes. Yeah, so our episodes are between an hour and 2 hours long.
It didn't start off that long, though, did it?
It didn't start that long, no. But I think we've always kind of consistently been around almost an hour.
45 minutes to an hour is right. Yeah. I think we started 45-ish minutes.
And then we kind of started getting longer, and I got concerned because I was like, 2 hours feels like it's long. Like, I actually asked our audience and was like, are our podcast episodes too long? Like, are you not listening to it? And people were like, no, I put it on when I'm driving. No, I put it on when I'm doing chores. No, I put it on in the brewery when we're brewing. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I was like, I don't feel like we want to go over 2 hours. Like that should be our cap. We've had a couple that have either got real close or are like a couple of minutes over. But I try and cap us at 2 hours because that feels like it's very, very long.
We need to do like unreleased bonus episodes where like when we go on for a really long time, just cut out all the rubbish and then put the full unreleased episodes, and then that's behind a paywall. You got to pay for the rubbish,
right? Yeah, you got to pay for the rubbish. But yeah,
the risque chat.
There's some definite risque chat that we need to cut out that cannot be published ever. By the way,
is there?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. A women's brew after dark.
I think we should have had a women's brew after dark. I think I said that before. We should have had a women's brew after dark where we're just chatting absolute rubbish. Like we just get hammered, talk rubbish. That's probably half the recording when we've. Thanks, Emma, for 2 litre bottles.
Right, for a litre bottle of Imperial Stout, thanks. But like everyone's at like podcasters' advices, you should batch record. How do we batch record when we're drinking at least 2 beers an episode? Like, you know, going back to that, we want to make sure that what we're saying is accurate. We want to feel professional. We want to feel like we're giving you, the listener, the best experience. Like being hammered is not doing that. Like I wouldn't find that fun just listening to like a drunkie talking about random nonsense. Like that's not for me.
I've seen clips from people's YouTubes that are like that, and I'm like,
right, and you're just like, I'm not into that. I don't think that's our vibe. So it makes it more difficult to batch record when that's, you know, podcasters say you should do that. We can't do that because of the way that we do things. But we did these 3 episodes to begin with over a series of days. It was recorded them in
female head brewers, glassware, and ice cream pails.
Ice cream pale ales, but we actually recorded ice cream pale ales first, didn't we? Because that was the idea that got it started for us. Was you go in, there's these ice cream pale ales, and I kind of want to try.
I
more.
actually, to be fair, no, I think we actually did head brewers first, then ice cream pale ales. Yeah, because
but it was but ice cream pale ales was the idea that
started it was ice cream pale ales. But I think we did female head brewers first because that was like our test. Let's do this. Let's see how we get on with that.
You were in the conservatory.
I was in the conservatory at that point. Sure was. I learned things.
Yeah,
don't record in a conservatory.
Don't record in a conservatory.
Don't buy a £15 mic off Amazon.
Don't buy a £15 mic off of Amazon. Put a duvet up to capture some sound.
I didn't do any of that.
No, you didn't do that. We had to go through and like when we're drinking and things, when you're listening, there are like chunks of dead space that I go through and cut out because that's not so fun to listen to.
Which is arguably the only editing that you really do. The only editing that I do.
Yeah, I just kind of go through and
clean it,
cut out dead space in the audio. Like it makes sense if you're watching us on the video, it makes sense because you can see we're thinking or we're looking at something or we're tasting something. Like you can see that. When you're listening, you don't, like it's just dead space. So I cut that out. That's pretty much all we do. I don't even take out ums and ahs because that's just how we talk. Like you're listening to how we talk. I'm not going through and taking all of that out.
That's too painful.
You're not here for, intellectual chat. You're here for two people having a chat like they're in the pub, and there'd be ums and ahs if we were in the pub. So
it's true. If you talk to me for 5 minutes, that's probably happening.
Yeah.
But I felt like those, to be fair, I think those 3 topics as our intro ones were probably quite good for us of what we wanted the podcast. Like what drove us to make this podcast was basically we wanted to talk about interesting beers, female empowerment and recognition.
Yeah.
And just like beer in general, like just the overall like nerd, just like we wanted it to be educational, we wanted it to be interesting, we wanted it to be empowering, we wanted people that maybe didn't feel like they always had their voice heard or they didn't feel confident in voicing how they felt to come away from what we were talking about and being like, oh, I feel a little bit more in the know now or a little bit more connected to, it's not just a can that's in a supermarket that I have at a barbecue because someone's got that. Like I've made a conscious effort to try this thing in particular or to seek this particular thing out. So yeah, I think that was good. So those first 3 episodes, they were all released together in one go. We then moved on. I kind of grouped like episode 4 to 21, in my opinion. As I said earlier, I felt like we were just trying to make the most out of COVID and the beers that we could get independently from each other while also staying up to date with current affairs. So stuff like we did Christmas beers, we did dry January and triannuary, we did controversial supermarket releases, supermarket beers overall. We talked about clean glassware because at the time I think like DGM was everywhere and just like, it's not that it's gone away, but like DGM was still like everywhere in groups being called out, and it was like such a big deal. So we were like, you know what, let's talk about clean glassware, not to shame people that don't have it, but maybe it teaches someone that didn't know
people. And make it accessible because you're calling out this, but you're not really telling someone what they can do about it. So then you're just shutting them. Because
I don't think they know.
People don't know.
They don't.
People don't know what that is. Like they're just drinking a beer. Like so, you're gatekeeping them from the community, and so we wanted to help people join the community.
Yeah, I think it was just a lot of like, what do we think people would think are interesting and what can be helpful and useful stuff. And obviously, as you said, you were getting sort of like certifications at the time. And so you were like studying all this stuff anyways. You had your beer school where you were like talking about this. So it made sense while we were testing the waters and finding our voice further. And then we so our first actual episode, so we had 3 interviews. Hilariously, we were like, we don't know if we're ready for interviews. We don't know how we feel. We had, so this podcast is the reason people call me a Siren fangirl, because Siren being my local brewery, and I was going down there before COVID, and then COVID hit. And I remember that was like the first thing that I did was like, well, I don't know how long we're going to be locked in our houses for. And I think everybody went, well, this is like a piss up for the next 2 weeks, right? Like we get 2 weeks at home while we figure this all out, and shit will blow over and it will be fine. So I put in an order at Siren because I was like, I need to be getting beers so that we've got something for like a week or 2. And I think just because they were local to me, and I was supporting my local. It's really funny how much people talk about wanting to support your local and how you should support your local. But if you're too vocal about that, and I didn't have anything negative to say about their beers at the time because I hadn't had a beer that I didn't enjoy. I'm not saying I've enjoyed all of their beers, but there wasn't anything that I went, oh, I could say it's not my taste, but there wasn't anything that I went, oh, this is just not a great beer in general. I don't recommend it to somebody. And I think because of the fact that they were just putting out consistently like decent beers, people were like, oh, you're a fangirl. And I was like, no. But because of that, then like we got Matt to come on. Like we had, what's funny is our first 3 interviews, episode 23, 24 and 25, it was Three Hills, then Siren, then Wild Weather. What's really funny is we were meant to talk to Siren first, but we couldn't, like by the time we had nailed down a date, I had also spoken to Andy from Three Hills on Instagram and just found him like through doing other things. He's like, let me send you some beers. This would be really like, I was like, oh, you can come on the podcast if you want. Like, that'd be good. That would be great. Like they were just starting up. That would be great. Cool. I didn't know what I was promising because I was like, I think I said to him, I was like, you can come on the podcast. Like, I was like, I've got a podcast. You can come on and talk. I can't promise you that I've got lots of listeners. I'm not going to promise you numbers, listenership, like anything, but it gives you a space to talk about it if you want. Like, you don't need to send us beer or anything. Like, we'll buy it or whatever. Because I think our ethos has always been, we will buy the beers because we want to help you and promote you. So like,
we're supporting the community.
We want to support you. And so we want to put our actions behind our words. It's not just like exposure for you, free beer for me. We're like, we'll buy the beer and we'll do what we can. When people have sent us free beer, we've been very grateful, but it's never expected.
Never expected, no.
But what happened is with Andy, it ended up being that we had to book him first in because of availability. So it was meant to be Siren was actually meant to be our first interview. And then, Three Hills came out first, then Siren, and Wild Weather pretty quickly behind that.
And Wild Weather, our interview with Wild Weather is why we had to have housekeeping in our, when we're chatting to brewers. We have a guest on, we go through housekeeping, like how it's going to be. Like,
this is our fault because we probably should have done this. Yeah. But what's funny is nobody else has this organisation.
This is what you learn, right, when you're doing it, right? So, you like, if it freezes, this is what we'll do. Like,
I'm going to specify.
It's going to be a chat.
We love you, Ian. This is Ian. This is about you, Ian. But we love you.
He knows. I've told him. I now work with him, so now we're both working the same place. But like, we just done this interview, and we were like, right. Thanks so much. End of recording. And Ian
it didn't even dawn on us that we had to say that.
I'd say don't go. Like, when
it makes sense.
Don't hang up.
It makes sense why you would say that. We just never thought about it because we hadn't really done a lot of interviews before, and quite frankly, like,
one of our housekeepers,
we were like bye, and Ian was like bye, and then poor JD was like, am I meant to go?
And we were like, no,
but it's okay.
Yeah, so we do at the end of the episode, when we get to the end of the interview, we'll say goodbye. Don't hang up. We'll finish recording so we get a clean break, and then we'll do a proper goodbye. And we just hadn't put that in our housekeeping.
But now we know.
So
and
Ian hung up.
Arguably.
So thanks, Ian. For helping us put that in our housekeeping.
Because I also think it made us more organised as well. Because like, I think we hadn't really thought about ground rules for like a lot of stuff. Like, we just all we kind of had worked out was like, it's going to be an informal chat. Like, sometimes people ask for questions up front, sometimes they don't. We kind of explained like there might be some lagging that happens, but other than that, we didn't do a lot. And I think as the years have gone by and the interviews have been done,
we made sure that we had a recording platform that didn't cut us off after 40 minutes. That was so that we could be like, we can talk for as long as we need to.
We definitely did that. We definitely made sure that that was a thing. But I think we did sort of like handle it in a way of, every time that we'd like interview someone, like we'd have this spiel, and then we'd like build it and grow on it as we talk to more people and go, oh, it's probably worth mentioning this because last time. And so I think we're in a position now where we've like optimized our house, like our ground rules, and it's not even like
housekeeping.
We're basically like, we don't really edit a lot out unless you ask for it, which doesn't usually really happen. People have joked about it, but it really doesn't happen that much.
No.
so majority of what you hear is what you get, besides Joe cleaning it up. But like, we do tell people they've got an option. We want to make people feel comfortable when they come on and talk to us, and normally it's goes pretty well. So yeah, that was the first time that we realized we really needed to improve our housekeeping. But also, super informational episode. Like, I learned so really much stuff from the wild weather one with the cephalopod.
Yeah, go learn about honey in that one. That one was super fun. And I think oh god, I keep thinking things I want to say and then losing what I was going to say.
You have to do the first time having housekeeping rules.
Housekeeping. And I think as well, like, we are quite led in those interviews by what the brewery or the person being interviewed wants to talk about. Like, we don't go to them and say, right, this is what we want to talk about. You know, it's like, what beers do you want to talk about? Is there something new coming up that you want to talk about? Is there a particular issue or event or, you know, thing that they want to talk about? Like, we're here to showcase them. It's not necessarily what we want to say, unless it's something that we've discussed with them. We're like, you know, cool, this is the thing.
It's agreement of like, this is being released. Like, it's a new beer release, or it's this, or it's that. Like, we're going to talk about that. Yeah. But I've always said, even in those episodes of like, we are here, like, this is what ideally we roughly want to talk about, but please feel free to tangent and talk about things that you want to talk about. Like, we're here to give you what you want to talk about. I think the only times really that we haven't done is with like Brave Noise, because I've said we've always kind of agreed we want to keep those very focused on Brave Noise, so we can do some tangents, but
questions
we want them all to be similar. Yeah, we want them all to be similar. Some tangents are okay when it's relevant, but we're like, we'd rather you come back on and talk to us about your brewery separate to that. And we've never had an issue there, I don't think. So,
tell you what I do miss. I do miss our Guess Your Beer.
I know. We started off doing, do you know your beer, guess your own beer. And it was so good. We had so many people come on. But then I think what had happened, to be honest, the reason it stopped happening was because we started interviewing people as they were opening up new breweries. Yeah. Or it would be for a particular thing like Brave Noise. So like, they didn't have enough of a backlog to ask to do Guess the Beer with them. But that was arguably like one of my most fun, most fun segments for the Guess the Beers.
Can you remember who's top of the leaderboard?
I can tell you who wasn't top of the leaderboard. Matt Lincoln.
We love you, Matt.
I love you, Matt, but you were not top of the leaderboard. It was the fact that he went, oh, I should know this one, and then you tell him and he'd go, oh, I did know that. That is not top. I think it might be Charlotte, actually.
It might be Charlotte. I think Jordan from Unbarred did pretty well.
He did. I think a lot of people did fairly well. I have the Guess the Leaderboard somewhere. I'll dig it out when we make our next cocktail. I'll try to dig it out and circle back around to that, because oh, bless Matt, he tried really hard and he did really well. But it was just he'd answer the question, he'd go, oh, I did actually know that one.
Fun times.
So that sort of takes us up to episode 25. Then we've got episode 26. That was our first International Women's Collaboration Brew Day episode. For me, this was the first time that I really knew and talked about International Women's Collaboration Brew Day, because I knew International Women's Day, but I'd never really known or done anything about International Women's Collaboration Brew Day. So you kind of talked all about that. So that was a really informative one. And I think obviously since then, I've participated in every International Women's Collaboration Brew Day that I could, either remotely, brewing with you, brewing elsewhere. That's been fun. Watching your homebrew version was fun. Participating in that was fun.
What should we brew, ladies? Let's make a raspberry donut stout, but put actual donuts in it. Thanks.
That was great to clean up.
That was super great to clean up. I don't have the time to homebrew anymore.
I know, that makes me sad, because I don't get these beers anymore that I used to get from you.
No, I know. I just don't like it's an investment in time. Like, if I'm going to brew a beer, it's going to take me a good chunk of the day, and then there's also another chunk of the day where I've got to, like, later, like several weeks down the line, where I've got to bottle it and then clean up that as well. Like, it's time that I actually don't have now. So, you know, some things have become more of a priority, unfortunately. I just drink everybody else's great beer rather than making my own now.
Well, I think That's what I like when the malt miller was like, here's this great these great kits and stuff. I'm like, I really want one, and they're not even I'm like, they're not even unreasonably priced. And then Rick dead ass just bold face went, with what time? He was like, with what? He's like, with what time are you going to be doing this? And I was like, and he was like, yeah, what free time? And I was like, but what if like had free time? And he was like, no.
Yeah.
He was like, absolutely not.
Unfortunately, do not have the time. But yeah, that was a fun one.
That was great. Episode 28 was the first time we talked to Charlotte, and we stayed up super late getting pissed and setting the world to right. That was great. That was probably the latest on a school night that I was getting drunk, having great conversations. No, I'm fairly certain it was not a Friday.
No, I think it
was a Thursday, and I had to get up the next day.
No, I'm pretty sure it was a Friday, because I wouldn't have stayed up that late if it wasn't.
I don't think we got Charlotted. I don't think we got Charlotted. Love her. We got Charlotted.
Probably won't be the last.
It's not the last time. There'll be many more Charlottings to come. It's my favourite's when Charlotte's herself. That is arguably my favourite.
Yeah, when Charlotte's herself.
Episode 30, that was the first time we talked to Emma and Ollie. Found Emma and Ollie on Instagram. Happened to see a beer that they posted somewhere. They were being shared by a blog somewhere. It was I forget what it is. Either they were either recommended to me, or it was a blog somewhere that had shared them. And I remember reading their ethos and being like, yeah, that really aligns with how we feel. And so I've just reached out going if you ever want to come on a podcast, we can't promise you listenership, but we can promise that we'll be super interested in talking about your beer, and we will buy your beer. And that was awesome. I remember you
coming to me with it and just being like, these beers look amazing, these people look amazing, I think we
need to get them on.
We need to get them on. This is one, and it was often we'd wait for people to say to us,
I think up until that point, we had so many people approach us. I think people had been approaching us to say, or I'd found people there'd be an organic conversation on Instagram. And people would say to us, "Oh, we should come on," or it would just be a casual conversation in person. Be "Oh, you should come on." Great. I never directly asked anybody.
Yeah.
We just kind of got inundated with requests. We were like, "Yeah, this is awesome." And I think Mirakai was the first time that I was like, "I don't know these people. I'm going to put myself out there, and I am going to talk to them to see if they want to come on." And it's a shot in the dark. They might absolutely say no, but they didn't. And I'm very happy they didn't, because I consider Emma and Ollie friends. They might be not friends, and I'm like, we're friends.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. They are podcast besties, is what they are.
I think just on a personal level though as well. Every so often I message Emma how are you? Miss your face.
Miss your face. I know. I love it, and I love that they now have a tap room. And when I can, I pop down there. And
Echo has a tap room. They have a tap room. Spookton has a tap room.
Spookton's got a tap room now. Oh my god, all these.
We still haven't gone to Echo because they're so. I think because of how you have to get out there. I'm like, I was like, if we're in London, I'm like, can we make it there? And then I'm like, oh, it's an hour from where I am. So I need to make a purpose-built trip that I'm going to see them.
Do you feel like we can commit to doing it before the end of
100%? I can commit to it because it's just going into London, but it's normally when I go in, I'm going for something else, and that's an hour detour out of the way and then back.
To making,
we need to record on site with them.
Right, yeah, we need to make it, and we will make a trip to London for it. I think it has to happen before the end of 2024.
Yeah, and I want to see, I want to see Emma and Ollie again before the end, because I feel like I haven't seen them this year at all. I've just missed seeing them, and it makes me sad.
I think every time I've gone, I've only seen one of them. This, I haven't seen both of them together.
I miss their faces. So I was meant to deliver them a special parcel of beer from Portland to Ollie, but I couldn't get there, so I had to mail it in the end because I was like, I'm running out of daylight, guys. But yeah.
I love that we are at this point now where these people that, we were just buying their beer, or we were just talking about them because we admired what they did and stuff. We are now calling these people friends. And I love that. I love that for us. I love that that's come out of this situation. We talked about Sophie Durand in our first episode.
That to me is full circles. I was like, I brewed a beer with Sophie Durand.
Both brewed with Sophie.
went to a launch with her. I mean, I feel like I can't boldly say friends because she'd be
she told you. No, she told you we are friends. We had this conversation. She told you. Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Kate said that I could say friends.
We started talking about Elusive because they were local to you and you really enjoyed their beers, and so then I ended up having more of their beers because you sent them to me, and now can absolutely say Andy is a friend of the podcast. Ruth is our friend through Elusive.
I think what's also been really great for me personally is having somebody locally at the moment. When she moves away, I'll be sad.
I love you, Ruth.
I love Ruth so much because
keep running, girl.
Keep running. You can do it.
Running.
Keep running. I hope Bert's with you.
Yay.
Genuinely, I feel like I'm so much on the same wavelength with Ruth and I have such frank conversations and stuff that I feel like we're on the same wavelength. And I've met so many people locally from the Siren and the Elusive tap room that I'm now friends with. I've got, my friend Adam, that group of friends. I'm in chat groups with them talking about beer and getting to see, Ruth when she was at Elusive, I just popped down and she'd be there and I'd be like, I wasn't staying for a bit, but I guess now I'm staying for a beer. And then I was like, and to give Bert a cuddle, okay, let's do this. And our friend Rachel, who I met through Elusive and through Elusive and Ruth, that it's the three of us did pole fitness together, and that was such a laugh. And just building such a network of awesome. When we went to International Women's Collaboration Brew Day, Rachel wore her Lucian yaks that had boobs all over them. And we were just you glorious beast. What are you doing with your beautiful boob printed Lucian yaks? We were you beautiful bitch.
And then we've got our other friend Rachel, who we met through through my beer group, Women's Pint Club, and we've got to go and brew with her and see her rise through all the different breweries that she's worked at.
I'm so proud of her.
And now she's in a brewery where she absolutely loves it. So proud of Rachel. We love you, Rachel.
So creative as well with the beers she makes, and they're so delicious. She takes big swings and they taste amazing. Beers that she's brewed, people will be like, oh, you can't make that. Oh, I don't know. My favorite was it was supposed to be pink, bro.
Yes.
Because the beer was meant to come out pink and it didn't come out pink. But that was great.
Espresso martini, white stout.
So good.
So the first time we ever brewed commercially was because of Rachel at Heist, and we were just oh my god, we're brewing. We're never this is
never gonna happen again.
I haven't actually counted up how many times
I started to and then gave up because I was multitasking too hard. I was girl bossing too hard.
A fair few times.
It was a lot of times.
Together and separately we've brewed.
But if you also count International Women's Collaboration Brew Day and just Brave Noise beers and everything else,
we've brewed so many times, and then we brewed that espresso martini white stout for International Women's Day. And then we got to showcase it at Arundel Friends, where we were invited to curate a bar, and we got to showcase that and an Echo beer and a black IPA from Full Circle, just twisting people's minds.
And that was my favourite.
Such a good experience. All because of the podcast. Amazing.
100%. I feel like we're halfway through this timeline. This is going to be a 2-part episode for sure, isn't it?
Maybe,
because we're already at an hour and a half, and this is not even on our second drink yet. We are still on drink one. And I had 3 lined up that I was I'll have 3 things. So let me blitz through the rest of the timeline so that we can get to our next beer. So then episode 40, we had the pub that didn't exist, and this was the first time that we really put ourselves out there on a wider scale in terms of we actively were let's submit ourselves to do a commission for Women on Tap Festival.
For a commission.
Yeah, and we got it. And it was awesome. We spent the money pretty much immediately to put it back into podcast gear so we could record on site. But we've then used that podcast gear since to record. We
use it all the time.
Lots of things. Anytime we record in person, it's something that we purchased with the money that we got from that commission. So that was awesome. The first time that I can say that I've been commissioned to do a thing, and it was just an idea that we could do this would be cool, and it worked out. And then, the next 40 episodes from there, so about up to like episode 80 or so, we had just a lot of style guidelines and interviews. There were very few exceptions. It was either kind of like style guidelines or an interview, and then maybe one or two here or there that was something different. So some of the notable ones from that period was episode 62. It was we talked about with Rachel, the high spear, when a beer's so lit you just turn into a bagel. Yay! And that was a PB&J stout. It just all came from a meme. Like, we were like, what can we call it that? And we were like, yeah, I think we were just laughing at Renaissance memes.
Right. Yeah, we were. And we wanted to make something peanut butter and jelly because why not? And we used my base porter recipe for it, which, you know, that got made and people bought it.
And it was like allergy free because we used nut flavoring as opposed to anything else. It was super like inclusive in that regard, like which was good.
It was a good beer. It tasted good.
But also the label was great. It would be so like you just turn into a bagel.
Great. Oh my god, hang on. Here it is.
I've got it somewhere hidden.
You're on the video. Here is the pub.
It's someone that's just rolled up into a bowl and just says when the beer's so lit you turn into a bagel.
Yeah.
It's a really great Renaissance meme. We had episode 66 with Helena and Emma, where we just had drunken debauchery because the 1 litre bottles that Emma sent us.
Yeah, because they hadn't canned it yet, so she was just like, I'm just going to send you. I'll just send you some.
I cannot believe that she did that.
And we both go, we're not going to drink all of this. And then we did. And that was
and then once it was open, we were like, well, we can't let it go to waste.
And
I still have
hated us.
I still have some cans of it that I had put aside.
I've still got one.
I've got the barrel aged one again. Oh, maybe we should have Emma back on.
Let's have Emma on.
Emma and Helena will get them back on and we'll be like, please, do you guys still have bottles of this? Please tell me you do. And if you don't, that's okay. We'll drink it and we can just drink lots of bits.
We're just coming up with loads of episode ideas.
This is great. Someone's going to be like, this episode is nothing but like literally rambling.
Just forward planning.
Rambling, forward planning, and like humble brags.
You guys, you love it. You guys, you know you love it.
What it is. Or you can just hit next. It's fine. We won't take it personally.
It's fine. It's fine.
Episode 80. Episode 80. That was our first Brave Noise Beer episode that we did, and that was with Mirakai. Episode 80 out of 200, and it was not like it was after we had brewed that first beer with Mirakai, because Mirakai had invited us and like the lovely community of women that are now part of our tribe. Yeah, Joe's holding the label if you're watching the video.
I've got the pub clip. Our face was on a beer.
The can's behind me over there.
I've got cans of both of the ones we did with Mirakai.
And that was the point of which with Heist we were like, we're never going to get invited to brew a beer again. Yeah. With Miracai's we were like, we are never going to have our face on a can label again. And not only did we did it twice, we did the reprise of it. And that's one thing that I've got to say about Mirakai is like awesome is they talked about how they were like, you know what, like they take the Brave Noise stuff and creating an inclusive, welcoming environment so seriously, more than I would argue more than any other brewery in the UK that I've ever seen. Like they take it so seriously. So they brewed a second Brave Noise beer. And basically it was kind of like a similar label, but it was like a bit shinier versus the first one was matted. So it's like a Pokemon card with like the holographic shinies. So we've got that, and that's cool. Like that was awesome. But the first one was actually episode 80, and that was a conversation after we had brewed it. Just talking about experiences as women, and it was basically with the people that we consider our tribe now. We've got a group chat. To be fair, we've all been so busy that I don't think we've talked to the group chat like very recently. Every so often,
at the weekend.
I was gonna say every so often it like comes out like here's a photo of like we've met up, we've done this. I think we used to probably be more active in conversation when we weren't all going out and doing like a million different things and having a bunch of life changes. I was with
Kimberly and Pip at the weekend, and I posted it, and Kim was like, "Oh, the group chat's going. Oh, it's you."
Oh, the group chat.
She's like, "Oh, the group chat. Oh, it's you." I was like, "Yes, I just posted the picture of us in the group chat."
I love that. Oh, the group chat. Oh, it's you. Okay.
Oh, it's you.
All right. Rude. So that was episode 80. 83 is the episode where we talked about how we got to orchestrate the bar at Arundel, which is what you've already sort of mentioned. So it was and that was like when we thought we couldn't peak anymore from being like, we literally have our faces on a can. We've commercially brewed twice now. our faces on a can. Like, how can we top this? We were then invited to orchestrate a bar at Arundel Beer Festival. We got to pick the beers and pour the beers, and I learned so much from that experience. I learned how to, like, at a high level, change kegs. Like, I wouldn't say I'm super confident with that, but change kegs, move kegs, move kit, like basically pack down a Linda, fix the gas machine.
Yeah.
Like,
do you remember that super foamy one that we had on our bar? I'm not saying what brewery it was from, but we just got one beer that was just,
I think it was the temperature.
It was fobbing so bad. I think it was the temperature, but even coming out of the keg, it was fobbing. Like, there was just something, it was just not right. But like, literally, people be like, "Can I have this beer?" And I'm like, "Okay, give me like 20 minutes because I need to like do it."
I got the hang of it though. I got the hang of it.
You got it. So
I fixed it.
Just made you.
Yeah. So every time someone would want it, you'd be like, "Hang on a minute," and then you're like, "Can you pour this one?"
Yeah, pour this one, because you had to get the Linda set just right.
It was
and tip it just
also
right.
because the Linda was broken at one point, so you had to like use the gas. Like, you had to kind of like fumble with the gas while doing the thing, and you kind of like had to do both at the same time.
Yeah.
And
it was, you had to get your little finger involved.
Yeah, while you were doing all that, and
it was a whole thing.
I figured out,
and then do you remember we explained it to someone else and they just didn't get it? And
I was just like, it's fine, just go.
Just don't touch that one.
Yeah, I was just like,
go down that end.
Just go. It's fine.
It's set just right.
Yeah, that was it. Is it like, I think someone just kept, I was like, please don't, just let me do it. Please just let me do it. Like, I think you just knew, like, someone would come up and you'd be like, can you do it? They want that. And I'm like, great, sure.
Yeah.
And then when this other person would get involved, I was like, please just let me do it. Just stop.
And that's when we met Chris.
Yeah, they were awesome. They were on the bar with us. And that was probably we had been speaking to them like on Instagram anyways, but this is the first time that I think we were behind a bar with them and physically met them in person, and like that was awesome. Like, that was cool. I've seen them since on numerous occasions. We've done Sirens together, and that was cool. But we made like the three of us made like the best. I'll be really clear. It wasn't them. Like, we're talking about couldn't pull it.
No,
it was not them.
It wasn't them.
It wasn't them.
The three of us.
The three of us, I feel like we were powerhouse. Like, we were and we were able to move around each other so seamlessly, and we were like effortlessly like, okay.
We didn't get in each other's way. Like, we could do, and then it'd be like, okay, you two cool. I'm gonna go get some food. Does anybody want anything? Right, I'll go do a round of beers. Like, we had it down.
What's funny as well is I'm fairly certain. So like, I learned, like, that's when I was learning how to diagnose like the gas problems and heat problems, and like I learned so much from that as well. Like, Martin was the guy that was overseeing the kegs and stuff. Like, he was awesome, and he just kept coming over and I'd be like, I just want to check something with you, and he would like so patiently explain it to me, and like people would have a problem, I'd be like, okay, he showed me how to do this, I can fix this, I feel confident enough. And I think going forward, like when I've worked beer festivals, has really taught me how to like think on my feet and diagnose stuff that like I've learned from that festival, which has been really good. And hilariously enough, when you were talking about how the episode we recorded the other night when you were like, oh yeah, I took you to Craft Beer Junction, you hadn't gone there before, I'm fairly certain at that beer festival I covered Craft Beer Junction's bar for a bit. Yeah. I just had never gone to Craft Beer Junction.
They had the cinnamon apple
of my pie or something, I think it was called.
Kept drinking. Yeah.
It was so good.
And you got some and didn't get me any, and I made you go back and get it.
It was so good. I think you had a glass full, so I just went and I was like, I'm getting a beer.
Yeah, I think so, but I was like,
and they're like, I can't believe that.
How dare you? How very
it was
dare
so
you not get me
it was like so popular as well, and I was just like, you need to go get it before it runs out.
Right, go break time.
It's Hidden Springs as well, I think what we've established is Hidden Springs. Hidden Springs is just goat of like sour beers in the US. But yeah, that was funny. I ended up spending like the majority of the night on the second night, I think, just on the Craft Beer Junction bar, because like it was busy in there, and then like people needed cover, and then I was like, oh, it's all right though, because there's good vibes, so I'll just stay here. It's cool. Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, I have people that I make do that now. Like, I've got people.
I don't
for that.
have people that make that.
Oh, she's humble bragging.
I have people that I'm like, can you fix that please while I go fix something else? We're a good team.
I don't mind doing the fixing. I kind of like having the knowledge, which is really good, but like it was funny because
I feel like I've just got enough knowledge to be dangerous.
To break something and then be like, I don't know what I did. Someone fix it please. I think what's really great as well though is like what I found consistent with every time that I have volunteered at beer festivals is like anytime there's a foamy beer and people are unable to pour it, for some reason I got it. Because I remember there was like we were at Time Hops and the guy from I don't want to name drop this, a person from another brewery was there and was like
clang.
And I'm not going to say it was a person from another brewery was there pouring beers, and he was like, he just noticed how like I was consistently able to pour these beers without foam, and because the chilling unit of it had broken on one of them, and so it was like super foamy, it was not the right temperature, whatever, and he was like, I don't know how you're doing it. He's like, this is super. I think it might have even been at London Craft Beer Festival, but he was like but he's like, every time he's like, you just get it right every time. I'm like, I know. It's a gift, humble brag, because that's what our 200th episode is for, is we make people listen for 2+ hours for humble brags. We had, so the last one I said was 83, which was Arundel. Episode 85, arguably I would say the most impactful in my opinion in terms of like the meaningful conversation that we were having, where it's not just shouting in an echo chamber, because that was the Brave Noise conversation we had with the guys from Beer Fridge podcast about the Brave Noise beer. I felt like there was a lot of difficult conversation, uncomfortable conversations. I think it was a really good eye-opening conversation on like both sides, like to have a completely unfiltered conversation where we didn't go in, there wasn't like a planned agenda. We were like, we just want to talk about this, let's have a conversation, and we just let it go where it wanted to go. And I think we agreed we'd release it on both of our streams. Like there wasn't we want to have it, you want to have it, like we were just like, we're both going to put it out there because it widens the audience. They're just like really, I think they're really good dudes, and I think it was a really good conversation. Hey guys, they're recording a live episode tonight, but they're recording episode about $5 getting beers for £5 and under, 3 beers for £5 and under, and I was like, good luck. Like I was like, haha, this is gonna be great, but I'm recording so I can't come watch. But
that needs to be a goal for us, is to record a live episode.
That
we've talked about it a lot, but we've never actually
I've got that in the later part, if we can ever even get past the halfway mark in this. That's something that we'll talk about.
I'll stop talking.
But yeah, I think, I don't know your take on it, but for me, I felt like a lot of the conversations we do is in an echo chamber. It's a bunch of like people like-minded with similar lived experiences, whereas at least they're coming at it from an angle and they were willing to listen to us and not shut us down. Yeah,
I don't think it was I don't think we butted heads or anything on. They had the same opinion as us, but they have a different lived experience.
It was eye-opening, I think, in some ways, like things they didn't realize or consider or think about, and there's things that they probably said that maybe we weren't necessarily giving other people the benefit of the doubt on, maybe. So it was, I felt like it was a good conversation. Definitely. And I think it maybe had the widest range of who would be impacted by that conversation, because it was such different voices talking about it. We've got we started dabbling in beers that other people drinking other types of stuff might like. So we started with the wines, white wine and sparkling, episode 91, and red wine and rosé in episode 92. And that sticks out to me because Winey Beast was literally so good. It tasted like so much like red wine, and it was amazing. I could do 70,000 more bottles of that.
I've still got Whiskey Beast. I haven't got any Winey Beast.
I might have Whiskey Beast. I'm not sure. But so good. We hit episode 100 in August 2022, and in the same month we managed to have a Brave Noise interview with Ash and Ren. That was episode 103.
That was so good.
That was probably arguably one of the best, like that. I think like when I think of top conversations, it was like the conversation with them, because I feel like we really got to ask questions that people think about or use as an excuse for why they couldn't participate in the initiative or whatever. Like we touched on so much of that and people's experiences there. I think it's kind of a toss up between that conversation and the conversation with Dr. J that I think sticks out the most in my mind. The two most important conversations, I think. And then, from there, we've just continued to do, I think that it's harder to find noteworthy points because a lot of it is just conversation, interview, style guidelines, banter. Like we found our voice and we're just rotating stuff out so much that it's not like I can go, this is the first time we've done this or that. Or, it just feels normal, I guess.
Just doing our thing.
Yeah.
We did the Drink Harder challenge last year, and then we did it again this year.
We
I
did.
think that was fun. Started doing our beer goals and our quarter reviews. I think that was a good thing.
I agree. And what I will say, so before we get our next drink, we had beers that was like suggested for us that you found that were like Chat GPT suggested us drinks.
Well,
and I wanted to talk about
that.
where we actually, do you agree with them or disagree? So your selection.
Well, so here's the thing, because so how I did that was I literally just gave it the top 10 because I tried to get it to analyze the podcast feed and come up with an episode for this 200th episode, and I broke Chat GTP. Like it was literally just circling for like half an hour, and I was like, okay, I get it, Chat.
I get it.
You can't do it.
I get it, girl.
So I stopped it. So I was like, okay, so here is the top 10 episodes. Looking back at the analytics, this is the top 10 episodes by listener amount, by listens. And I just gave it the titles. So and then I was like, can you suggest, like, give me an outline for an episode and suggest some beers that two podcasters could drink from, a women's brew that we could drink. And it just arbitrarily picked 3 beers each, but I was quite interested by what it picked for. So for me, it picked a Marzen, an Imperial Stout, and a barley wine. And for you, it picked a wit beer, an ice cream pale ale, and an extra special bitter. ESB for you is not the
Well,
one.
that's it. So I was like, I could understand the wit beer because, like, I can understand how much I've talked about, like, in general, like wheat beers and similar varieties to like wit beers and stuff like that. Like, I could get that. Ice cream pale ale, I can understand that.
Yeah,
but I was like, ESB.
It's literally because, so do you want to hear the list of the top 10 episodes?
Yeah.
So we're going to go for it. We'll go from 10 to 1. So 10, extra special bitter. That's why I pulled that out. 9, white beers, when we did our white beers episode. 8, barley wines. 7, stouts. 6, ice cream pale ales. 5, beer clean glassware and the perfect pour. 4, we make a brave noise. 3, Oktoberfest, the first one. 2, beer clean glassware, and 1, breweries with women as head brewers. Arguably, breweries with women as head brewers, though it is a great episode and it was our first one, I think it's the most listened to one because it is our first one, so it's been around the longest.
True.
So that's probably why that one is. But yeah, so that it just picked us 3 beers from that. I just thought it was interesting that I got the Marzen and you got the ice cream pale ale without even knowing who we were.
Honestly, I think it's just random, isn't it? I remember with the Oktoberfest episode, the first year, dead easy to do. The second year, still easy because we found a twist to it. I think like year 3 and onward, it became more and more challenging. So we're like, how do we not repeat the same information but still fill up 60 minutes worth of stuff? Because we're like 45 minutes at the lowest, but we're like, how do we do it?
We had that lovely one with Time at the Bar Park.
Yeah, we did. I saw them at Bristol.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I did say we have to catch up at some point again soon. We have to have them back on again soon.
So
yeah, I saw them. I saw them at Bristol, and I was like, we need to get you back on at some point. And they're like, we do need to get you on ours. I just think like family life, they've not. They were like, we're so busy. I was like, totally get it. I was like, totally get it. But it was
so cute,
so good to get to like just see them.
Yeah, Tom was like, have you met Arwen? And I was like, not in person. I've only seen the photos.
So cute. Oh yeah, but that was like that. I think because we had that episode where we talked about like sort of like the history and the women's side of things and all that as well. Like that was, we had done that. We had done like on a budget. We had done normal, and then I was like, where do we go from here? I don't even know.
We've got to go to Oktoberfest and record Oktoberfest.
That's what I think we wanted to do, and then we were like, that ain't gonna work though. And then
it's not gonna happen.
It didn't happen. So this year's could be that, mate. No, I was gonna say it could happen this year, and I was like, it's not happening this year.
It's not gonna happen this year.
Oh right, should we pause, get another drink, and then finish the run?
Let's. Second drinks time.
Second drinks. It's going to be a slightly longer episode. We won't cut it in 2. We've decided.
No, we decided we're just going to do one. Right. So do you want to know what I'm drinking?
Yeah, you go first.
So I've just got a beer. Just a beer. I've got
Konbini
from Burnt Mill. It's a lychee and hibiscus goes with Okinawa sea salt. Obviously, I've got this because we talked about Sophie Durand in our first episode, and Sophie Durand gave us this beer when we brewed with her last. And I've got it in my fancy
Hey! Did you already plan that out before I have mine?
I'd already planned that out. Yeah, I already had it up here. I knew that I had to have this glass on, and I figured you'd have it on as well. Had to be.
Had to be.
It looks like a celebratory glass.
It does.
So,
it absolutely
cheers.
does. Oh,
and this beer is beautiful.
I've got mine still. I've been saving it because
Have
I've
you not
got
had it yet?
no, because one of the books I'm taking. Oh god, this is so niche, and I feel like this is not the place to talk about the book that I was going to read. Basically, I've got a book from an ex Japan porn star. I'm trying to think of I'm like, what's the word that I should like? How do I describe it? So, she's written about the Japanese like porn and porn industry, and she does like lots of cosplay, and she's awesome. Just like genuinely is great. Bonus points if you message me on Instagram and you know who I'm talking about. But I've got the book. It's I don't have it to show because it's like with my suitcase because it's going on holiday with me. And originally, at the moment, what I'm reading Trouble Brewing in the Loire by Tommy Barnes, because I read the first part and I'm reading the second part. I was trying to read it and I realised I'm switching to audiobook because I can multitask when I listen to it. And I'm within 48 hours, nearly done with it. Great. But there's no audiobook for this other book that I'm trying to read. So I'm taking it on holiday because I should be able to sort of like unwind, not be involved in like tech and just focus on that when I have time. But I really wanted to have the konbini when I read one of like my Japanese themed books. I miss Japan. I want to go back.
Mate, it is a beautiful, like almost rose gold colour, and it is delicious.
Oh, a co-worker has come back from Japan recently, and I was like, "Can you buy me Family Mart socks, please?" And she did, so I've got to go collect those tomorrow. I'm very happy. I was like, "I've got a million pairs. I need a million more." Right. That's so exciting.
So I thought that worked really well with the theme of today.
Absolutely does.
What are you doing?
So I had Chat GPT do me another cocktail. So it has done the 200 episode toast is literally what it's called. Quite literally what it is called. There was a few that I had cycled through, but I was like, don't have that. Yeah. Can't be fucked to go find that right now. So I settled on this because this was what I could relatively get in stock. So one bottle of lager. So this is one bottle of lager, e.g. Heineken or Budweiser. I have used the Dog Day Afternoon. From this is the Bathhouse collab with Lost and Grounded and Street Vet. But this is obviously last year's, admittedly. This was basically meant to be in a Kolsch episode. It was meant to be in a Kolsch episode. But we never got around to recording it, and then it got past its best before date, and then we decided we can't now. The new Dog Day Afternoon's come out. We can't, in good conscience, do this. But
I drank it and used it.
You drank it, used it in pizza, but I was like, I still need to. Oh my god, this dog looks like Phelan.
Oh yeah,
that looks like my dumb idiot.
Oh, you're so mean to Phelan.
Because she is dumb.
No, she
is. I saw her reflection in my PC earlier, and she was. I'm dead ass, not making this up, staring at the floor. And I was like, "What are you doing?" For like a solid 30 seconds, she was thinking that. What? Sometimes I think, what goes on in your head, and then I realized nothing. There's no activity there. I love her, but she's also dumb. She had to get her jabs the other day so she could go. She had to get her jabs yesterday, but she's been stupidly active since. And the vet apparently, Rick was like, "Oh, like the vet." There was obviously like a language barrier situation, but said, what do you say? She's in good condition for her age. Like the way she says, she's in good condition for her age. And Rick's like, I get what they meant. And then he's like, it was a funny way to phrase it, but she's in good condition. And she is. So we'll take that as it is. But that just made me happy because I never noticed that before because it looks like my baby.
Yeah. We will do a Kolsch episode. We just
have to replan it because
we got to get that.
This is the problem. Is now for the podcast we've planned so far ahead, and then our schedules don't align with it. That too many things pop up last minute that are time sensitive, and then we actually don't get around to the beers we've ordered. But basically, so it's a lager. I've used this Kolsch. fresh pineapple juice. I mean, it's not fresh, it's from a carton, but fine.
It's fine.
Coconut water, ginger ale. I use Sprite because I couldn't find any ginger ale. Also fine. A pineapple slice and a mint sprig for garnish, and ice. And I'm also going to tell you, it's given me so like a bottle of lager. That could be any size bottle. It doesn't tell me. A half cup of pineapple juice, a fourth cup of this, a fourth cup. I eyeballed it. I just went, okay, well, we got a half cup of pineapple juice.
Do it to taste.
So I went, well, I'll fill the half cup to the third line, and then I'll do like half the way to a half pint with coconut water, but then that went slightly over, so I went slightly over with the Sprite. I made it up, not gonna lie to you.
As long as it tastes
well,
good.
we'll find out, but that's what it looks like. Doesn't it look nice?
Oh, it looks pretty. You're gonna have to go on the video to see.
I mean, I also spilled
I hope you got a photo
everywhere. I did. I got a photo of it for
because then we can use that for the cover.
I've got a photo of it for sure of both of mine. And I'm drinking it out of my Fierce glass because it's not necessarily podcast related, but it's almost podcast adjacent because Fierce was the first beer order. I think I've talked about it before. It was the first craft beer online order that I had put in for anything. Like, it was post-COVID. Like everything else, it was like local breweries, or I was trying breweries when I'd go around them because I was in the area, or they were a guest beer at a local bar or whatever. Fierce was the first one that I was like, I really want to have these beers, and I put in the order, and I got the beers, and I was like, I want that fancy glass. That's like such a fancy glass. So I got their teku, and I did like a little photo shoot in the garden post-COVID. I think they're still on my Instagram somewhere. And so for me,
we need to get Louise and Dave on, mate. Oh, we have not.
No, because we talked to them about Brave Noise, but like we haven't talked to them since from like a Fierce perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, they were so pivotal in my post-COVID craft beer of like my moving further outward, not just local breweries or not just who I happened to stumble across and stuff. It was really pivotal because what they were offering was so like different to a lot of the stuff that I was kind of seeing, and they were the first ones I knew I could order online for, and they were the first ones that had an offering and a range that I was like, I really want all that. And the glass was the icing on the cake. So
Fierce make great beers.
Yeah.
They make great stouts. They make great lager. Their Mexican lager is beautiful. Ooh. I had a Radler from them the other day that was their collaboration with Women in Beer. I had that in April, and like that got me through a day where we got a little bit hard the day before. So it got me back in. Radlers will set you right, people. That's my top tip.
There's Cerveza as well. Like we've talked about Cerveza on the podcast, but at Bristol, I like recommended Cerveza to so many people. I was like, you need to have this. You need to have this. And then they'd have it, and they were like, it's so good. Oh, very big. I had Very Big Dragon.
Very Big Moose in all of its forms. Highly recommend. Like, I've drunk Fierce for a long time. So good. And Louise and Dave are just beautiful people.
I was going to say, I'm going on 4 years strong, more than 4 years strong at this point of drinking Fierce and being fiercely advocating for Fierce. So that's why I picked this one, because I know it's not podcast related, but like I kind of feel like if I hadn't done that, because I think if I'm being honest, if I'm keeping myself honest here, I want to say that this was one of my first posts that I had done on the beer Instagram. And I think it was like they were one of the ones that inspired me to do it.
I don't think they make that teku anymore.
No, if this one breaks, I'll probably be really sad. I'm not going to lie to you. I now really want to know, so I'm just going to, in the background, casually be like scrolling through. As we talk about other things, I'm going to be like, but I really want to know about this. Because, I think it was one of the first ones that I'd properly put on my Instagram for my beer Instagram, because I was like, my personal friends don't want to see me talking about beer crap, and I'm really excited about this order that I got and everything that like came with it, the teku glass, because I'd never had a fancy glass like that before. So I was also really excited to be like, look at my fancy glass. Like, it was great.
That is still my top recommendation. Like, if you're getting into beer, you want a dedicated beer glass, get a teku.
It's fun. It's fancy.
It's fancy. It's fun. It's versatile for a lot of styles. Like, Tekus are great. Get a teku. You definitely should. I feel like I don't see tekus around as much anymore. Like people go for different shaped glassware. But
I think Teku's like burnt out real quick. Like people were like, we're overhyped on the Tekus. Like can't do no more.
I still love a teku.
Oh God, to be okay.
I have a tasting glass
It's not my first beer. Hilariously, I might have deleted some back in the day. Hilariously, my first post on there is Daya, break me into bigger pieces. And I think that's because I happened to go by the Daya tap room and get it. It's their IPA or their pale ale. I don't know if it's pale ale or IPA with lime and lemon peel. But that's what I took in my garden post-COVID, if you're watching the video.
Shall I do a little Daya confession?
Oh,
exclusive to episode 2.
Oh, you've got to be in it to win it.
You ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready for this? I've never had Steady Rolling Man before.
Oh, really? Oh, that's fair. Like,
that makes sense for me, right?
It makes sense for you. Yeah, it makes sense. But like,
I've got a can in the fridge because I was like, I've never had Steady Rolling Man. I probably should. I feel like I've recommended Steady Rolling Man to people. Like I've been at Daya Tap takeovers or whatever, or people have been like, "Oh, what should I drink?" And I'm like, Steady Rolling Man's pretty solid. Like I know it's a solid beer. I've just never drunk it myself.
So I think I found the beer. So I found the Fierce post, by the way. It's from May 2020, and I've put Fierce beer order has been officially received. Ordered the glass, blah, blah, blah. And that's just like. I think I ordered it because the Eskimo Joe coffee, and that's like the photo with all.
That's a good
I
beer.
made a tower out of the beers with the glass on the top, and that was my post.
In your garden, not on the stairs. Tut tut.
20. My post number 20. So that's what it was. Yeah. So no, not on the stairs. Next to my outside stairs, so that's fine. But yeah, no. So Steady Rolling Man, like I had it on tap at a pub a few weeks back, and I'd always had it. If I had it, it was normally like in a can or something. I went back for a second one. It was beautiful. Yeah. Like,
I mean, I know it's a well-made beer.
So drinkable.
I've got it in my fridge. I've got it in my fridge to try it because I haven't tried it. Because, as you know, dear listeners, I'm a stouts and sours girl. That's just what I am. I've drunk more hoppy beer nowadays for, obvious work reasons. But, and also because, I'm an advocate for trying all the things. I've just never done it. Like, there's been something else more interesting to me to drink. But I am, I'm doing my try all the beers. I'm going to transfer that to my beer journal now.
You'll try all the beers.
Do it on my, do it on the blog. I'm going to transfer it into the journal and do try all the beers on there. So Steady Rolling Man will be making it into my beer.
Well, I think the thing is, I ordered some and I was expecting to be like underwhelmed by it because of how, like, because I've had it before. I had it like again back in 2020 without that first post, like April 2020. Like we went away. I had got some, and this was, I guess, just pre-COVID. We had gone away on holiday with some friends. Went to, I think it's called Favorite Beers, picked up some beers there, picked up some beers from like we ended up saying, oh, there's a brewery nearby on the way home, let's stop there. A bunch of like our friends were like, oh no, we're just gonna go home, and Rick and I were like, let's go to the brewery before we go home, like we'll get some takeaway beers, we'll stay for a beer sort of thing. And it was Daya, which at the time, like, it wasn't like, I think because we were all in, like, when we were in COVID lockdown times, like, Daya was so hyped because everyone was talking about it on social media, but like I wasn't in those groups at the time, so I didn't really know. And I've had the Steady Rolling Man
stuff.
Yeah, it was so good.
The See No Evil, Say No Evil, Hear No Evil series was
and
with the cider leaves was amazing.
It was their collab.
Was it the wheat beer?
It was their collab with
wheat beer, Hefeweizen we had.
It was Hefeweizen, I think.
Hefeweizen, that was
and they
good.
did a collab. It was them that did Crocs and the Cool Ship with Duration.
Crocs and the Cool Ship, yeah.
That was awesome. But
yeah, that was good.
So I've obviously had Steady Rolling Man like a few times, and I kind of just couldn't really properly remember it. And I thought, oh, I'll have that because that's like recognizable compared to, I was away for work and I was like at a pub and they didn't have that many options, and I happened to see it and I was like, oh, Steady Rolling Man, awesome. And I had it expecting to just kind of be like, cool, this does the job. And I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. And then I was like, I really like I under expected and it over delivered, and I was like, this is great.
Nice. All right. So that's what we're drinking. What's our last thing we're going to talk about? What beer represents a women's brew podcast and why?
So what do you think? I Chat GTP'd it. I asked Chat GPT.
Okay, so in my heart of hearts, I think a pumpkin spice latte beer represents us. That's what I think. Like, you know, we've drunk a lot of them. We're a big advocate for pumpkin spice beers when no one else seems like they are. We are basic bitches, and we are not ashamed of it.
I don't think it's basic. We've talked about this though offline. It's not basic.
It is basic.
It's not basic. It's actually really quite complex.
Flavors. It's complex flavors.
And if you can't handle the complexity, that's on you. Right. That's not on us.
But there's a whole thing. If you look into it, there's a whole thing about how it's one of those things that, you know, it's a flavor profile that women enjoy, and then suddenly, oh well, it's basic. Oh well, you know, we're going to put it down because it's something that women enjoy.
Don't spoiler alert, because we both independently found the same news article, and we decided we could talk about it in our last pumpkin spice episode, or we could talk about it in our this year's pumpkin spice episode, which we will do, which actually means that we are on time with planning our pumpkin spice episode.
Our pumpkin spice episode.
We'll actually do it this year on time.
We'll actually do it. We should do some pumpkin spice beer cocktails.
Yeah, we could do. Oh, now that we're in a beer cocktail flow.
That'd be proper basic, bitch. Let's do it. Okay. Tell us if that's what you want to hear, listeners, because we're just coming up with all the episode ideas.
No one wants to hear it, but we want to do it, so it's
fine. Yes, they do. I had someone come up to me at the weekend and be like, pumpkin spice, yes, I'm here for it. Thank you for doing that episode.
You can join our crew.
Join the tribe. So that's what I think. Okay. What does Chat GTP
think? Okay, well, I can tell you what Chat GPT thinks, and I'm not actually against Chat GPT's response.
Here we go.
So I actually quite like its reasoning. So I put, my prompt was, what beer best represents a women's brew podcast and why? Pretty straightforward. I didn't send any links, nothing. And it said, selecting a beer that best represents a women's brew podcast would ideally reflect qualities such as uniqueness, depth, and a blend of diverse elements. Given the podcast focuses on celebrating women in brewing and their stories, a beer like a Belgian triple could be fitting, and here's why. So it's a 4-point answer. Point number 1, complexity and depth. Belgian triples are known for their complexity with fruity, spicy, and sometimes herbal flavours. This complexity parallels the diverse backgrounds and experience of the women featured on the podcast, each contributing a unique perspective to the brewing industry. Number 2, strength and resilience. Triples are typically strong beers, often higher in alcohol content. This strength can symbolise the resilience and determination of women in brewing, overcoming challenges and making their mark in a historically male-dominated field. Number 3, craftsmanship and artistry. Just like the meticulous craftsmanship that goes into brewing a triple, a women's brew podcast highlights the artistry and skill of female brewers. It emphasises the creativity and expertise that women bring to brewing, showcasing their talents and innovations. Number 4, celebration of diversity. Belgian triples can vary widely in flavour profile, yet they all share a commitment to quality and tradition. Similarly, the podcast celebrates the diversity of women in brewing, showcasing their valued backgrounds, brewing styles, and contribution to the craft beer community. Overall, a Belgian triple represents a women's brew podcast by embodying complexity, strength, and craftsmanship, and a celebration of diversity, key themes that resonate with the podcast's mission to shine a spotlight on women in brewing.
Okay, so I have thoughts.
I've got thoughts as well, but let's hear your thoughts.
Okay, thoughts. 1, I like all of that. That's nice. You know, if it was brewed by Hildegard, the brewing nun, then yeah. But, you know, generally kind of triples are brewed by monks. So I have a little reservation there.
Okay.
But also, you love a trip trap.
I fucking love a trip trap. I forgot. I didn't even think about how much I love a trip trap.
So
oh my god.
Half of a triple.
Yes.
Half of that is triple.
Yes. That wasn't even part of my thoughts.
So I'm in two minds about it. But I don't know if a triple really represents us, but okay. More power to you.
So
GTP.
I feel like my comments are more it talks a lot specifically about women in brewing, and I was like,
yeah,
not quite what we focused on. The majority of what we talk about actually isn't about women in brewing.
Yeah.
However, I felt like on the last comment where it was like, overall, a Belgian triple represents them because they're embodying complexity, strength, craftsmanship, and celebration of diversity. And I was like, you got it. Like the intro, and the outro, I was like, okay, you got it though, didn't you?
Yeah, okay, fine.
So I was like, I'm not going to argue with that. That's great.
So if you personally had to pick a beer to represent a women's brew, what would you pick?
I don't know, because I feel like we'd be a beer flight.
Yes. What would you put in your beer flight?
For us, it would be like definitely a stout, a sour, a mixed firm wild situation, and then like I want to say like a juicy boy or a crispy boy, just because. Can we make it like a 6 beer flight or like a 5 beer flight? Then it would be like, okay, you'd be like a juicy boy, a crispy boy, and then the 6th one,
crispy boys,
and then a 6th one would be something that's like, I'm gonna make stickers, crispy boys, and then the 6th one, because I can now, I know how. The 6th one would be probably something that is so weird and niche that like has cinnamon in it and also like really weird stuff. And like people would be like, why are you doing that? And we're like, oh, just because someone felt like it.
Just because it sounds weird and I want to drink all the weird shit. Thai green curry saison? Yes, please.
Maybe it would be like a beer blender. I don't know. Like
Sarti? Yes.
Maybe
please.
That's it.
Beer blender?
Maybe it would be a beer blender or a beer cocktail. I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe that. I'm not sure. But I did ask what beer cocktail represents a Women's Brew podcast as well. So do you want to end on that instead?
Yes, please.
So I asked what beer cocktail best represents a Women's Brew podcast. No leading questions. And Chat GPT said, a beer cocktail that represents Women's Brew podcast would ideally blend elements that symbolize diversity, creativity, and empowerment. Themes central to the podcast mission of celebrating women in brewing. Again, just because there's a Women's Brew, they're like women in brewing. Not quite what they're for. If we just cut that out, if we just cut out the bit of women in brewing, it'd be like, it's fine.
So this is the thing with Chat GTP, right? Sometimes you have to give it a chunk of information.
No, but I don't want to. I want it to just be like, what do you think?
But you'll get better stuff if you do. Like if we'd put in like the a woman's brew like intro, like bio, it would have come up with different stuff. But anyway, carry on.
I want it to troll the internet and tell me what it thinks.
You can't do that.
I know it can only go from
it gets upset.
Basically, I think it's only loaded from like 2011 and before. But that's not the point. But yeah, so it says one intriguing choice could be a black velvet, and here is why. One, a symbolism of diversity. The black velvet is traditionally made by combining a stout beer with champagne or sparkling wine. This combination symbolizes the coming together of two distinct elements, dark beer and an effervescent champagne, much like how the podcast brings together diverse voices and perspectives within the brewing industry. So I was like, I'll take that. Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
Number 2, celebration and elegance. The addition of champagne to a stout creates a drink that is both celebratory and refined. It reflects the podcast goal of honoring the achievements and talent of women brewers in a way that is both festive and elegant. Not quite making the mark, but I like what they tried to do there. Number 3, creative fusion. Mixing beer and champagne in a black velvet showcases creativity and innovation, much like the inventive approaches and unique styles that women brewers bring to the craft beer scene. Okay, that's a stretch, but cool. I like what it's trying to say, but it's like I feel like you're just reiterating it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Number 4, empowerment. The bold flavors and striking appearance of a black velvet embody strength and empowerment, qualities that resonate with the resilience and determination of women in brewing who overcome challenges and break boundaries in the industry. Okay, I appreciate what you're saying. That's good. In essence, the Black Velvet Beer Cocktail is a fitting representation of a women's brew podcast because it blends different flavors and characteristics harmoniously, celebrating diversity, creativity, and empowerment, all integral to the podcast's mission and stories it shares. I feel like it starts off strong, and then it goes, I'm like, oh, it starts to lose me. And then it comes back in, and I'm like,
comes back round.
You got me again. I did say, what cocktail's a black velvet? Because I wasn't sure. And it went, my apologies for the confusion earlier. A black velvet is not a cocktail. It is a traditional mixed drink, but rather a beer cocktail.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Champagne and Guinness.
Yeah. It says 1 part stout, Guinness, or stout of your choice, and 1 part champagne. Or sparkling.
I'd like to do that and chuck some like raspberry liqueur in there.
Oh yeah, Chambord. Oh,
some Chambord.
Yeah, I did think
I had a
about
shot
that.
with Chambord vodka and squirted cream the other day.
So this was going to be my third drink. It was a potential for this or a beer or a stout float, and I was going to do it with a wild weather beer in this glass, which was the Full Circle glass.
Yes.
From the Kindred. I've got the t-shirt of it.
Yeah.
This was like
I've
one
got
of the
the t-shirt
first
too.
online events that we did together, and then like Full
Yeah.
Circle went on to be, I would say, arguably, like for me personally, got me into actually the volunteering scene.
Yeah, they did.
And like super important to me in that regard, because that got me down the path of being able to volunteer and having like really cool experiences at like Bigfoot and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I was gonna pick for my third one, but we are out of time.
Love it. Oh, well, there you go, guys. Like, this is a long one. I'd say we apologise, but we don't.
You can skip it. Next.
Yeah, skip on to the next one. But we hope that you've enjoyed our 200 episodes, and we hope that you stay with us for 200 more. We came up with a lot of ideas today. If any of those sound good, get hold of us and let us know. If any of those you don't definitely want to hear, again, get hold of us and say, don't do that. But tell us what you do want to hear. Because
be constructive with it. Constructive criticism.
Yeah. Tell us what you don't like about it and what you would like to hear instead. So, Tori, if people want to tell you what they want to hear in the next 200 episodes, where can they get hold of you?
They can find me on Instagram at adventures_in_optimism, or they can email me at adventuresinoptimism@gmail.com. If you want to reach out to both Joe and I, you want to give us your ideas, you want to pitch us sticker ideas, you want crispy boy, you want juicy boy, like whatever you want, pitch us, you want, a Woman's Brew t-shirts for yourself, let us know. Message us at A Woman's Brew on Instagram or Facebook, or you can email us at awomansbrewpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to get your hands on some of these awesome stickers, let me know, because I've printed out loads. So have them. I've got another batch of paper that arrived today, so I can play around with glossy print. That'll be fun. That is us. Mixed bag of who will answer that. It'll be lucky dip. Consider yourself lucky regardless either way. Joe, if people want to talk to you about your beer cocktails and what you're doing with your beer journal, where can people talk to you?
Oh, come talk to me. I am Love Beer Learning on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. I will probably respond to you on Facebook. I am on X, TikTok, and Pinterest, but you're more likely to find me on Instagram. So come find me there, Love Beer Learning. Or you can find my website, which is lovebeerlearning.co.uk. There's a bunch of blog posts there for you to read. There's also like a little how to taste beer course that you can take on there. There's some videos that I've got there. Go enjoy yourself. Or you can email me, lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. Ask me about my beer journal, which is where all my stuff's going to be now, because that's what I like doing. What an episode.
What an episode.
What a time.
I even wrote a quiz. We didn't even get to do the quiz. That's just...
It's long.
Out the window.
We'll save it for another day. We'll save it for episode 300.
Oh, I'm going to have to do so much work to revamp it at that point. Forget that.
We'll save it for 4th birthday.
Yeah, okay, sure. Let's do that. Yeah, I'll still have to update it, but that's fine.
So, 200 beers, more than 200
More than 200 beers.
200 episodes.
Cheers.
Cheers.